dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Yeah, happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome on in. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. D Gun, Rob Ellis. Gunner is like the Joel Embiid of Sports Take today. He's got a broken face, he's got a concussion, he's got torn thumb ligaments, and he's got some throat issues. But he is going to fight through it because he's a trooper.
Hey, out at the Brian Dawkins golf event, and man, a whole lot of yelling and trying to yell over music and people talking. I had to MC a couple of events. And so I got to go back out there again today and try to suck it up, do this. Unfortunately, I have to leave you at 2:00 and head back out to Pin Oaks.
Okay.
But man, what a great opportunity to see so many guys to talk to. You know, Corey Simon is here. Trey Thomas is here. Donovan is here. Westbrook was out there. Our colleague Barrett Brooks jumped on. He was out there. He came later. He had job commitments.
He'll be checking in, by the way. Barrett will. In a little bit.
Takeo Spikes is there.
Yeah.
Man, so Chad Lewis, and you know, some of the guys who didn't make it yesterday. Brent Selleck is golfing today.
Nice.
Yeah, so great collection of people, great collection. Pin Oaks puts on a first-class event. Dude, let me tell you something. Last night for the soiree,
yes,
they were having high-end scotch. Now, I'm not a drinker, but they were having high-end scotch.
Wow.
Dude, the crab claws, the shrimp, the oysters big as a baseball. Man, Let me tell you something. So I can't wait to get back out there today for the closing dinner.
Okay.
So to speak, yeah. So it's a great time, bro.
That's exciting, man. All right, so huge show today. Huge show, Derek. A little later in the show, we're going to have the king himself, Howard Eskin, is going to join us at 2:00. 2:30, Dan Klecko, my post-game partner on WIP, is going to join us. And at 1:00, Todd Zalecki, MLB.com, is going to be joining us. But the big news, and this broke an hour ago, whatever it was, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yep.
The Eagles off season, which we didn't think was going to be like super aggressive, continues, man. They go out there and they sign James Bradberry, 1-year deal. Is probably going to get up into the $10 million range, 7.25 guaranteed, Derek, and the rest of it is in incentives that he can easily reach. But now all of a sudden, you're talking about a position that we went in extremely concerned about not all that long ago. And you have Darius Slay and James Bradberry in that defensive backfield to go with all the other moves that the Eagles have made this offseason, man. And I think the expectation level for this team in 2022, that bar has been raised in a big, big, big way.
If they all stay healthy. And that's
big
a big if.
Big if.
What did I tell you and Barrett yesterday? Barrett kept saying, I don't know how the Eagles can find the money to sign one of these guys. I said, if there's anybody who can move money around and make it work, it's Howie Roseman.
Yep.
And I thought they would wait until training camp was over before they try to pick somebody off. Oh no. Howie goes out the next day and grabs a guy who's played a high level of football for quite some time and to complement. Now, even if they do nothing with the safety position, now that your corner position is set, your front seven is set, you know, you can still hide deficiencies at the safety spot. You know, Anthony Harris is not great, but not bad. You've got young kids back there. You can't, you can't have Pro Bowlers at every position. But I tell you what, you're exactly right, man. The odds for them winning the division and going deeper to the playoffs, if they stay healthy, if Jalen Hurts improves, there's a whole lot of ifs. And I know people are excited, but like I always say, pump the brakes. You know, we're not playing games in May, June, July, and August. You know, let's see how they hit the ground running. The schedule is so favorable for them coming out the gate to pile up wins early. So everything is falling in place for this team right now.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. And again, I think we went into this, and one of the things we talked about, Derek, during the draft when they didn't necessarily address this position was, look, we're only in May. There's plenty of time here for Howie to make a trade, to make a signing. Could happen in camp. Well, it so happens it came down a lot earlier than that with Bradbury. And now all of a sudden, you look at the positions that they needed to shore up. Look, you still have concerns about safety. There's no doubt.
Yep.
But you look at the positions they needed to shore up. They needed to get better as a pass rushing team in general. They get Hassan Reddick. They also get, draft a guy in Jordan Davis, who in theory is going to be able to give you push and potentially get pressure on that quarterback, or at least allow the others to get the quarterback. You get Brandon Graham back. You have, Josh Sweat, hopefully continuing to develop, from what we've seen so far. You should, in theory, be much better at getting to the quarterback. Look at the linebacker position, which was a huge concern. Kaiser White, who we hardly even talk about, but they signed him for the Chargers. They bring into Kobe Dean. Hassan Reddick is going to be sort of a hybrid guy, but nonetheless, he could play a little linebacker for you. They're way better at that position than they were last year.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're light years better at corner than they were. I mean, most of the people you talk to about Bradbury say, okay, he was in a system that wasn't necessarily conducive to him. They were a team that wasn't good. They kind of all played into it. It's a great stat that Dave Zingaro threw out there, Derek, which I thought you would enjoy, regarding Bradbury. So there's two players since 2015 with 15 plus interceptions and 80 plus pass breakups. And those two people are Darius Slay and Bradbury. So yeah. So you've massively upgraded a couple critical positions, and yes, you're still a little light in one, but now it's all there for Jonathan Gannon. There's no excuses. There's no, thought process of, well, he doesn't have enough, so he's got to be super conservative guy and all that. That's all out the window. We usually apply that to Jalen Hurts. How about let's apply it to Jonathan Gannon now? Because you have some of the weapons that you need.
When you let a player like Bradbury go, like the Giants did, and the first thing you want to say is, okay, what's the problem? Why are they letting him go? And maybe he just doesn't fit Brian Daboll's system. Whatever that system is, maybe he just doesn't fit the system. But you just don't let a guy walk like that unless you're clearing cap space or you identify him as somebody not fitting what you want to do, okay? There's no reports of any injuries lingering with this guy. We know he's capable of playing good quality football. This is a guy the fan base and social media and on this very show have been screaming for the Eagles to go out and sign. And so Howie, once again, listening, and obviously Howie's not just listening to social media or fan base. They sit behind closed doors. They talk. Number one, what kind of locker room guy is he? They're still very big on locker room culture, and understandably so. Mm-hmm. What kind of locker room guy is he? Next, what can he give us on the field? And obviously we know what he's capable of doing. So everything falls in place right now. Everything looks so good on paper right now. But the two biggest factors is how healthy can this team stay and how much will a quarterback improve? Now, I'm anticipating a bigger year. I'm not going to say big year. I'm saying, and the operative word is bigger year for Jalen Hurts compared to what he had in 2021. What that entails remains to be seen. I know Nick Sirianni is streamlining the offense even more so to play to his strengths, to bring out the best in him. And to what degree that's going to be effective for him and the offense in general, we're going to have to wait and see. I don't even think we're going to see a smidgen of it in preseason. The regulars like last year may not even play in preseason, so we may not see it until they hit the ground running for real. So I like everything I'm seeing about this team on paper. And I think right now where we have talked about Dallas still having a slight edge on this team in the division, I think they're neck and neck right here now. I think the only advantage they have right now is the quarterback. Dak Prescott is a good manager. Dak Prescott has a lot more game reps under his belt than Jalen Hurts does. Mm-hmm. But in terms of now personnel for personnel, even with CeeDee Lamb, okay, we got A.J. Brown. Even with that being said, they got Michael Gallup. We got Devonta Smith. Mm-hmm. Even with that being said, I think these two teams are neck and neck, and it comes down fewest turnovers. There are going to be times when you're going to have to win games in the fourth quarter. Who's going to win those games in the fourth quarter? And staying healthy is huge.
Yeah, and look, I think Eagles fans should be really pumped up because the team has been aggressive. All you want from your organization is to be aggressive, and I think they've been aggressive in a smart way, not
no question,
not in a just drunken sailor throwing money kind of way. They've added pieces. Bradbury's an interesting signing because it's a 1-year deal, which you could look at a couple different ways. For him, it's a deal where if he goes out and crushes, he's going to get a multi-year deal, which means you have a player who, he's going to be very motivated, right? So that's from that standpoint. If, the trend continues where he wasn't great last year with the Giants, okay, you move on. And you're still sitting on 2 first-round picks next year, by the way. Keep that in mind.
Yep.
So you can, recalibrate and reload there. But, I'm looking at a team that's gone out and gotten A.J. Brown that's in a trade, has signed Hassan Reddick, has signed James Bradbury, has signed Kazir White, has drafted Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean.
Yep.
I'm not really sure what else you can ask for. Like I'd be very curious and great comments, guys. Keep it rolling, man. And we appreciate it. And smash that like button today. Just destroy it today. But what more you can really want? I mean, short of everything being perfect, you're always going to be short a little bit in certain spots, like the safety spot. But they've gone a long way this offseason to really, I think, making themselves, as you said, they're right there neck and neck with the Cowboys. And all of a sudden you start looking at it, kind of bigger picture here, Derek, in the NFC. And you're right. I'll get to Hurts in a second. But you look at the NFC now, I think there's a couple teams could take a step backwards. The Packers could take a step backwards a little bit, depending on how that plays out, right? Tampa, okay. I mean, still good, but the rest of that division is very much up in the air. The Rams, we know how hard it is to repeat. The Cardinals fall apart late in the year. 49ers, unresolved situation at quarterback. So, I mean, that's what you're looking at here in the NFC. I think they're in any conversation, to be a team that certainly competes for a playoff spot, but maybe, goes deeper than that for sure.
No question about it. I think the Rams and Tampa Bay are still the teams to beat. Green Bay's defense is going to be very good. Their running game is going to be very good, but you just don't replace a Devontae Adams with a couple of rookies. Again, they signed Sammy Watkins, but Sammy Watkins it's been years since Sammy Watkins has had a great year. But if anybody can bring a Pro Bowl year out of a Sammy Watkins, it's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers takes average receivers and makes them into Pro Bowlers, okay? Before him, Brett Favre did the same thing. But Green Bay has some major question marks about the receiving core. That's why they spent 2 of their 3 higher picks on receivers, young receivers who can run 4.3s, 4.4s. Mm-hmm. But they have to develop. They have to get used. Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams on that back shoulder throw was second to none in the National Football League. That doesn't exist anymore. There were times when Aaron Rodgers would go down the field and only throw to Devontae Adams in situations. That doesn't exist anymore. So how will that affect Green Bay's overall offense? That's going to be interesting to see. Tom Brady is loaded down in Tampa with weapons. The defense is still good. The offense is going to be healthier. Chris Godwin is coming back healthier. What Mike Evans can do. They're still loaded. The running game is legit. The Rams are going to be rock solid on defense. Rams play rugged football on both sides of the ball. But you're right. Arizona, which has the talent, for some reason, fade down the stretch over the last 3 years. Who are the Arizona Cardinals? They look good from September to October, November, and all of a sudden they look like a second-tier team in December, January. And as far as that division goes now, having Amari Cooper out of the division is huge for the other teams in the division. I think this Eagles team right now can go toe-to-toe with the Dallas Cowboys. If you think about it, the Eagles have more veteran experience on defense than Dallas does. The Dallas spent their first 6 draft picks last year on defense, young players, rebuilding a defense. They played much better than they did in 2020, but they still were not a so-called shutdown defense. The offense still had to do its part. It's going to be an interesting 2022 across the board, man.
Yeah, no question. And so that leads us into what we talk about almost the entire offseason anyway, but it leads us to, what this really boils down to is the quarterback, right? I mean, this is clearly, a situation where the Eagles are showing faith in this roster, in this coach, I believe. In other words, if you felt like you were still pretty far away and you kind of got lucky last year getting in at 9-8 in a bad division, et cetera, maybe you don't go all in. I'm not saying this is completely all in. This is not trading for Devontae Adams, kind of stuff, but it's pretty close to going all in, Derek. This is being extremely aggressive via trades, via free agency, and via draft to put the best roster together here and make this defense more complete and give the quarterback more weapons. So guess what? Now it's on Jalen Hurts. Okay, now is when you have to deliver. And that's really what this is going to amount to for this team, because I feel like the other areas are now satisfactory and then some.
I agree. And, Jalen, nobody knows the pressure that comes with what we look at on paper now more so than a Jalen Hurts. And I do believe, and I've said it time and time again on this platform and other shows, I think Jalen Hurts is a young man, mature far beyond his years. He knows what's at stake here for him with the Philadelphia Eagles. They have given him the tools now on both sides of the ball, not just for him, but this team to be successful. A big part of the pressure is on him, but other players have to step up as well. Let's face it. That defense has to play as good as it looks right now. The defense has to stay healthy. I think Zach McPherson and Marcus Epps are going to get a wealth of learning experience from the likes of Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Excuse me. I think the young D tackle Jordan Davis is going to get an incredible amount of learning curve from Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. Milton Williams will be a guy who can take Jordan Davis under his wing to pass along information that both Fletcher Cox and Hargrave have taught him, to teach him what it means to be a professional, how to get yourself ready mentally and physically week in and week out. I can't wait to see it come together. And what a great, I hate to use this term, but what a great get ready for what's to come game to start the season against a team like Detroit. Yeah. A team that's rebuilding, a team that has not won much of anything for decades. I don't like to overlook any opponent, but when I look at Detroit, what a great audition, so to speak, for the Eagles to work out a lot of different kinks that they haven't ironed out by the end of training camp.
Yeah, I mean, the early part of the schedule here, which we've covered a good amount, but just to refresh people's memories who may not have it right in front of you, you get Detroit, who, they were really bad last year, although they did play a lot of close games, and that should be accounted for. Minnesota, who's kind of tough to handicap sometimes. They do have a new coach. They have an offensive coach, and when Cousins is hot, it's not like he doesn't have weapons. I mean, you talk about Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. He's got some weapons and Cook.
No question.
There's weapons. So
no question.
I don't know if that's a walkover like some people might think it is. Then you go to Washington and you go and then Jacksonville home. The point is, all four of those teams you're starting out with all had losing records. So if you have a team with some new faces like the Eagles do, it looks like a pretty good opportunity to kind of get some rhythm here and get yourself, sort of acclimated to one another.
Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think pressure is on more so, Jalen Hurts or Jonathan Gannon?
The pressure is always going to be more on a quarterback than a coordinator. But I think at 100%, we should be looking very closely at Jonathan Gannon now, because it's weird, Derek. He is, it seems at least, universally respected in a very big way around the league, to the point where he was getting job interviews this past year when the Eagles defense was just okay. And you talk to some Eagles fans, they think they were terrible. Their numbers are just okay. They're not terrible, but they weren't great. Now, some of that is that you didn't have the personnel. But now, having the kind of personnel that he has, we just went through it, a pass rush, improved linebacking core, big-time improved cornerback situation. They should be a lot better, which should allow him to show all that he has, right? The problem with all of that is we have such tunnel vision when it comes to a quarterback and a head coach that no matter what, we're going to be looking at Jalen Hurts. It's just the nature of the beast. It doesn't matter if it's Jalen Hurts or anybody else playing that position. But the pressure should absolutely, the fire should be lit under Jonathan Gannon's rear end.
I don't want to see anything close to the defense that Jonathan Gannon came out with in 2021. And we all agreed across the board, maybe he didn't have the personnel to do some of the things that he wanted to do, to play some of the games that he wants to play. You know, we saw at times Fletcher Cox rushing from the outside instead of on the inside. We saw Hargrave move out. I expect to see more of that. I want to see him, the D tackles, move around and not be stationary. We saw Milton Williams playing the outside occasionally. As I said yesterday on this very show, I want to see Nakobe Dean go from inside to outside. I don't think he's just a so-called middle linebacker. I think he's the kind of guy you can move from backer to try to find a weak link, a mismatch, so to speak, for his quickness and his ability to get away from tackles and guards. I expect to see corners coming down in the box. I want to see the safeties come down in the box more. Now that you have Bradbury and Slay on the back ends, they should be able to hold it down. I want to see some more single high safety stuff and start moving the chess pieces a lot more to try to get inside a quarterback's head.
I'm with you. One of the things you're looking for is aggression, right? But you got to be smart aggressive. And I think, last year with Gannon, to an extent, Derek, I understand. He didn't look, your front didn't get there enough. He didn't feel good enough about it, sending some of his linebackers because they weren't good enough, and maybe he didn't trust anybody other than Slay. So I get it, where you're not going to be, Buddy Ryan and Jim Johnson in sending the house a lot of times. Understood. But I still think he took it to an extreme too far also with letting quarterbacks bleed him to death. I mean, you remember what Derek Carr did to him at 91% completion percentage. I'm sorry, man. You got to do something to try and counteract that, even if you get beat deep from time to time. I don't want to die that way, this slow, cut. I'll rather be aggressive and see if maybe you can make a play. Now is where we need to see. Look, the one thing that people talk about with him all the time is Jonathan Gannon. He's an adaptable coordinator. He said it himself. I don't necessarily have a system. Okay.
Yeah, he has a philosophy.
He has a philosophy, which means it's going to change week to week. But now, fundamentally, he's got the ability to be a much more creative, aggressive play caller on that side of the ball. Let these guys eat, man. Let them go eat.
What do they say? Hungry dogs need to be fed.
Yeah.
You got some hungry dogs on that defense now. You have some young kids who want to prove that they are worthy of being in the NFL. Two of them come from an incredibly high pedigree college like Georgia. You've got some veterans like Fletcher Cox, who is smart enough to understand this could be a swan song as a Philadelphia Eagle, still wants to stay in the game, still wants to make some money. You got a lot of guys that are still trying to prove it. A TJ Edwards, just because he was here last year doesn't mean he's going to have the extensive playing time this year. So you got a lot of hungry dogs on that defense, man. And hopefully he unleashes the hounds, because anything less than that, he's going to hear about it from his fan base and the media.
Yeah, he is. And look, we had Howie on a week ago. We had Howie Roseman on the show, and it was great talking with him. And one of the sometimes you get a sense from just speaking with someone that A, we're not done making moves, and B, I think they feel like they're going to be a pretty good football team. And that was the vibe I got off of Howie. And granted, he was coming off the afterglow of a pretty strong draft where you got AJ Brown, et cetera. But and we talked about it, Derek, after he jumped off with us, just the sense that something more is coming here, man. And he kind of almost felt like he knew even last week that this deal was probably pretty close.
Yeah, I think he kind of tipped his hand when he agreed with me when I said, are you still looking at things? And he says, we're always trying to improve the team. He always says that, but knowing what I know about Howie Roseman never sits still. If there's any way, shape, or form that he feels he can enhance the product, he's going to do that. And I think this team came away feeling extremely good with what they saw in the field in 2021 at the conclusion of the season. A team that beat teams that were supposed to beat, that got the taste of playoff experience. A lot of young players got playoff experience. It didn't end well for them, but see, that's ingrained in their mind. Even though a recent Super Bowl team took them to the woodshed, that was a valuable learning tool for these young kids on what we need to do to be that so-called Super Bowl team. And so Howie, when he looked at it, we need to get better at pass rushing. We need to get better at corner. We need to get better in the trenches. We need to get nastier. So what did he do? He went out and got himself a young D tackle, young linebacker, a proven corner to go opposite a proven corner, and a hungry young linebacker who was a defensive player of the year in college. What more can you ask for? I mean, simply, what more? What more can you ask for?
And the other thing I would just caution people to, when you go into an offseason with somebody like Howie, who really made his bones working that cap, right? That's where he was able to ascend and climb in the organization.
Right.
I heard a lot of people before the offseason saying, look, they're not going to be able to do anything or very little because they still are pretty cap strapped. Yep. And I always tell people, look, you can not like the moves he made. You can not like him as a GM, and that's all well and good. He always figures out ways to manipulate this cap to where they can wiggle out of jams and be aggressive. And no better example than this offseason so far. I mean, have they been hamstrung by anything? They've been super aggressive, even with all of that.
You know, I have said up until recent years that even last year, Howie did a much better job bringing in free agents than he did drafting players. I can't say that now based on last year's draft and what he's done this year in terms of the draft, not even the free agents, but just the draft alone. He's changed his mindset in terms of neglecting SEC players. Look at the SEC players he has on this roster from last year and this year. He got a couple of players from a championship pedigree team like Georgia to come in here. And so now I think is even keel. You know, keep your fingers crossed. I think is even keel. You know, Howie has elevated his status now in terms of identifying talent, better talent, both in the draft as well as free agency. And you look at what he got a James Bradberry for. If what we're hearing is true, 11 teams wanted him. They narrowed it down to 3 teams. He ends up with the Eagles. Why? Number one, did the Eagles pay him more than anybody else was asking? Or did he? I don't know what kind of relationship he has with the Darius Slay or other players on defense. Is it because he feels that this team is about to turn a corner when he looks what's on this roster? We're going to find out when James Bradberry steps to the podium and speaks to the media. But, you know, all of a sudden, they outplayed 10 other teams to get a James Bradberry to come down the pike from New York and play for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's huge kudos to Howie.
No doubt. All right, so a little bit later, Howard Eskin's going to join us. Todd Zalecki's going to join us. Dan Flecko's going to join us. But look who's joining us right now. Once again, he's on the links. The one and only Barrett Brooks playing in Brian Dawkins' charity golf tournament. What's up, B?
What's up, my amigos?
Hey, man, what's the buzz there about the Bradberry signing?
Bro, it's unbelievable, man. You could tell a lot of these old timers are standing back and saying, look, they're trying to win now. They're trying to make it happen. And
yeah.
I mean, once again, Howie doing Howie things. I mean, would you say that they got a top 5 tandem or top 5 cornerbacks in the NFL now?
No question.
Avonte Maddox is one of the. I would say, you know, he's not a top 10 type of he's a top 10. I say he's about a top 10 you know, slot corner. So he's developing. He's going to be at that point. So I mean, this becomes a game changer.
Yeah. Now
the safety position, you're kind of cool at the safety position now because I mean Epps has been very feasible. He's played more than half a season every year.
Yep.
You know, I think they're ready to compete.
Well, Barrett, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. This is the organization saying we feel like we're a lot closer than some people thought. Maybe this is not just, hey, let's see what happens this year. This is we're going in, man. I mean, you're not making moves like Bradberry. You're not making moves like A.J. Brown, like Kaiser White, you know, being aggressive with a Hassan Reddick signing. If you don't feel like you're a good football team that's got a shot here, I'm not talking about just the division. I'm talking about in the entire conference.
Well, it definitely is. You can come on, you come in. I think the A.J. Brown signing really put things in a perspective that they're going to win now. I think if they hadn't done that, here you go, sweetie. If they hadn't did that, then they wouldn't be going this direction. But you know, signing him really put them in that mindset.
How about this guy, Gunner? He's giving us football analysis and signing autographs at the same time. It's unbelievable. It's
multitasking.
Sometimes I tell you guys, off this show, some people know who I am. You know, it's just dealing with those YouTube personalities, man. You guys put me in my place, man. You know, you definitely put me in a position where, you know, I'm definitely humbled.
You're getting a lot of love for the lid, by the way. They like the bucket hat.
Oh, okay.
The people like it, man. Yeah.
Hey, B. Brooks.
I'm playing with some young guys too. Some young gunners. Young gunners.
What's up, fella?
There they are. What's up, boys?
Yep.
All right. Good luck keeping Barrett in
shows,
line today is going to be a challenge for you guys. You got your work cut out for you with Big B. All right.
Hey, B. Brooks.
No,
B. Brooks.
They're ringers.
They're ringers. All right. They look like
they're ringers.
Remember when we argued yesterday, you said, I don't see how Howie can find the money to get a corner in here. And I said, here's what I know about Howie. He never sits still. He's always twitching. And I thought it would be after training camp when the waiver wire, players start hitting the waiver wire. Dude, Howie is good, if not better than anybody at the league at moving money to get what he wants.
You're absolutely right, man. He shocked me. You could have bought me with a wooden nickel that he was able to get this deal done. Yep. You're talking about $10 million that he found to move around and stay under the cap, sign his rookies, give a couple of his free agent rookies more money than probably any other guy at that position, and still being able to be competitive in the market and go get quality players. Once again, he gets I would say Brad Barrett's the best corner that was in free agency at this point.
Yeah.
He did it again. He did it again.
No question about it.
No, he did. And I say this all the time about Howie. It's you can love him, hate him, whatever. He is an aggressive guy. He is not a sit on his hands kind of guy and just sort of wish and hope. He's going to go down in flames, or he's going to succeed in skyrocketing. And you're seeing, I think they genuinely took. Obviously, they nobody liked the way 2 years ago went, and Howie said it with us when we had him on last week. They were embarrassed by that, and they've now set about since that time systematically changing the scope of this team, and they've made some major moves in the last 2 years, guys, so far. Major.
They've come and they're now out of the basement, and this makes them better better going into the season than Dallas Cowboys. This pick right here makes them better than the Dallas Cowboys. So
that's what I said. I said they had the edge on Dallas in terms of defensive personnel because even though Dallas played much better defense last year, they played with a bunch of kids that are still learning their way. Right. The Eagles are bringing in veterans, a lot of veterans to help get this thing turned around. And, quarterback, I'll still give Dallas the edge in quarterback. But for wide receivers, they have CeeDee Lamb. We have A.J. Brown. They have Michael Gallup. We got Devonta Smith. Mm-hmm. And I think the Eagles' offensive line is better than Dallas's offensive line now.
No, it is.
It is. Dallas's offensive line is a shell of what it was a couple of years ago.
And by the way, altogether linebacker, I think our linebacking core has now reached or was kind of even. Now you have a standout player, you got a stud player in Parsons. But after that,
and Van Der Esch,
I mean, not really. I think we kind of, on even playing field now when it comes to that. So I'm ready, man.
Yeah,
Wait, I know you guys got to go to break.
Have fun, brother.
I'll see you out there in a few hours, dude.
Hit him straight, my man.
All right, Rob.
All right.
Have fun, B. All right, talk to you soon, man. I appreciate it. That's Barrett checking in from Penn Oaks, right, Derek? Is that where?
Penn Oaks Golf Course. Yep.
Out in Westchester.
Out in Westchester. Beautiful golf course. Great group of people who run the course. I got to meet one of the owners.
Nice.
A lot of the workers out there. Just great people, man. Just down to earth people. And they do it first class, man. First class in hospitality, first class in food. I'm all about the food.
Oh, how did I know that somehow the food would be worked in? But
what's hilarious? Wait to get back out there, brother.
What's hilarious? I see all you guys in the comment section, and we appreciate the love and the excitement that you got for this move that the Eagles made, etc. I love that the people in the comment section. And by the way, again, guys, let's hammer the like button today, okay? But they keep track of how many eyeballs are on us right now, and they're counting down. We got to get to 700. We got to get to 600. We got to get to 800. Well, we went over the 700 mark for what it's worth. So people are excited, man. So we're going to keep it rolling. Let's let you get some honey and tea in that throat, man. But we will. I know you're fighting through it.
Hey, just so I let you to let you know, for some reason I'm having laptop issues here. I may have to switch over to my phone. So if I drop out, If I drop out, I'll relatch. All right, bro.
Got you. No worries. All right, we'll get a quick timeout. You get yourself situated, Gunner. Take a breath, and we'll come back. Hey, by the way, 1 o'clock, Todd Zalecki to talk some Phillies. Okay, we keep rolling with the football when we get back. By the way, then after that, 2 o'clock, Howard Eskin, the king himself. We're riding with the king at 2 o'clock. We'll talk some birds. He's down at the NovaCare Complex today. And then at 2:30, Dan Klecko, who played for the Eagles, the Patriots, the Colts, has 3 Super Bowl rings. He's going to join us as well. We are blowing the Eagles out today. But this was a major move with Bradbury. You couple it with everything else they've done. Eagles fans should be over the moon with all this. Quick stoppage. Come back. He's D Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh. At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Welcome back in, everybody. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, Barrett out on the links, playing in the Brian Dawkins Celebrity Golf Charity Tournament. Derek will be joining him a little bit later. All right, your shot looks actually good. Let's get you a little bit up a little. You're cutting your top of your head off a touch.
Well, look, I'm trying, man.
Go. Not bad, not bad.
I've never done a show on my phone before. So can you hear me? You can hear me okay?
Yes, you sound good. The audio's not bad. Yeah, the audio's not bad at all. Yeah.
I'm using my AirPods and all this stuff. I'm like, man, this modern technology is a pain in the butt, but it's also a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you're right. You can do a lot of different things, man, that we couldn't even dream of doing.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
That's for sure. So we're talking. If you're just tuning in, you just popping out of work for a second, or we're running around doing errands or whatever you're up to, out doing yard work, which I was doing yesterday. The Eagles made another signing. They signed James Bradbury, and we were sitting there, and one of the things we had continued to talk about when it comes to this team was, the secondary worries me. You take Slay out of the mix, and man, what are they going to be able to do?
Yeah.
You bring in a guy like Bradbury, who, granted, I don't think anybody's going to argue last year was a bit of a down year, but still, if you look at him over the course of his career, Derek, whether his stops in Carolina or the earlier years, with the Giants or whatever, this guy's a big time player, and he has been, a feature corner. Slay's going to be the guy here. We know that much, but he's a guy who's got a nose for the ball. Even last year had 4 interceptions. Had 3 the previous year, 3 the year before that, 5 the 3 years before that, in terms of passes defense, 17 last year, 18 the year before, 12, 15, 10, and 10 during his Carolina years. And he's also a guy that during certain junctures in his career, they didn't throw at all that much. So, you're bringing in a guy who can do a lot of different things, who's versatile, who's got pretty decent size on top of everything else. I mean, this is a guy who's 6'1", 212, Derek. This is not some shrinking violet here. You got some rangy corners now with he and Slade out there. And Barrett brings up a great point with Maddox now. That threesome is damn good.
Yeah. But Bradbury's more so known for being a zone-type corner more so than a press corner. He made his claim to fame in Carolina, parlayed that into some big money with the Giants. We don't know what kind of scheme the Giants are going to play defensively, but you know what? He's a pro's pro. He knows how to play the game. He knows what to look for. I think communications on the back end between him and Slay and Avonte Maddox and Harris and those guys is going to be incredible. I think Jonathan Gannon, when he has the DB meetings, that Jonathan Gannon should listen to Slay and Bradbury and take advice in terms of what do you guys feel more comfortable with? What do you guys want to do? Do you want to be interchangeable parts? Some corners like to play on one side. Some corners you can flip-flop depending on who the offensive personnel is. This is an opportunity for Gannon to really shine. Gannon got a few interviews this offseason. We're all wondering, why did he get interviews for head coaching jobs? If he does what we're hoping he does with this, he's going to be in demand after 2022, no question.
Yeah, that's okay though. That's a good problem to have. If guys are trying to pluck your coaching staff or your front office or whatever, that means something's going right. And this is, I think, where we're going to find out why there was such a national fascination with Jonathan Gannon when we didn't really I'm not one. There are a lot of people that wanted him fired, that said he was awful. I definitely don't fall into that category. When I mentioned this to you in the last segment, the category I fell into is understanding that you're not working with a full deck, in terms of skill with players.
Right.
But also you can't just be this ultra conservative guy either. So this is where I want to see the creativity, the hybrid schemes and all this other. Like, I think they're going to use a 3-4 sometimes, 4-3 sometimes, be more of a blitz aggressive kind of defense. This is what I want to see. And, we had this debate earlier, is who's more, whose turn is it to step up more here? Is it Jalen Hurts? Is it Jonathan Gannon? Ultimately, I'm going to fall on the side of Hurts because he's the quarterback, but that doesn't leave Gannon off the hook. This now needs to be a really good defense. This needs to be a top 10, top 7 defense now with this personnel that they have.
I'm going to take a little bit of pressure off of Jalen Hurts because with the personnel that you have now, you can dink and dunk your way down the field. You don't have to hold the ball an extended long period of time. It should be a rhythm offense, 1, 2, 3, throw. Whether it's to Brown, whether it's to Smith, Quez Watkins, Jonathan Hightower, Greg Ward, whoever, Jalen Reagor even, whoever the case may be, Dallas Goedert, whoever's out there, it should be a more rhythm type offense. So you can take some of the disadvantages that we saw in 2021 out of his hand. Questioning, is he reading a defense properly? Does he go through his progressions quick enough to get the ball to where it goes? Worry about throwing longer intermediate routes, overthrowing, underthrowing. If you're in a rhythm offense, man, you can tear people. Tom Brady's been doing it for years. Mm-hmm. You look at how quick Tom Brady gets the ball out of his hands. Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out of his hands. You can do that with the Jalen Hurts with the personnel now. In terms of Jonathan Gannon, You have now been given the tools to attack like a dog going after a raw bone. You now have the tools to constantly be on the attack instead of being on the heels. There's no excuse for not being able to move your pieces around. Your D tackles can attack from the outside. Your D ends can attack from the inside. We've seen the D ends move to the inside in cases. Your linebackers don't have to be stationary. Your corners don't have to be stationary. Your safeties don't. In a game of chess, he should have all the pieces right now to basically outmaneuver a lot of teams. He's going to encounter a few teams that can go toe-to-toe with him in terms of strategy. He's going to be some pretty good offensive coordinators coming up, but you have the personnel to offset that as well.
Yeah, no more checkers. This better be a chess game.
No more checkers. Yeah.
And the other thing is, this is also where your defense has to put your offense in good positions. This is where your defense needs to get some takeaways and set up short fields, where it just felt like last year, man, there was a lot of long drives. Now, part of that was the Eagles weren't exactly a quick strike offense, so you had to sort of work your way down the field a little bit more. But this is also where your defense can play into this, and the good ones, the really good ones, set the offense up at 1st and 10 at the opponent's 35, as opposed to having your own 35 and having to do these long marches down the field.
This defense was one of the worst in the league last year in terms of takeovers. With the kind of people you have now, a lot of times the defense can make an offense. Okay, you give them a short field more times than not. You give them a better opportunity of putting points on the board, whether it's 7 or 3s. Long as you get some kind of points on the board. This personnel now, you should be able to have a lot more takeaways than you had in 2021. You should be in the top. I'm going to give them some leeway. I'm going to say you should be at least in the top 15 in terms of takeaways. That's not too much to ask in 2022 with the people you have. You have the people in the trenches. You have the people in your front 7 overall to attack a quarterback and force that quarterback to make quicker decisions. A lot of times force them to go to their weaker side when they're rolling out. You have the ability now to make a quarterback play your game instead of you playing the quarterback's game. You have to take advantage of this now. You have to. If not, it's going to be a lot of what we saw in 2021.
Yeah, look, I agree, Derek. And I think that I just envision what the folks up front should be able to do and how that's going to aid the guys on the back end. Like, I mean, when you think about the pass rush, the push that Jordan Davis should give you, Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, I think being utilized in a better manner than they were last year. Your defensive ends now with Reddick thrown into the mix and with BG back, all of a sudden now, and linebackers that are not going to have people draped all over him. The Kobe Dean is going to be able to just do his thing, because, like he did at Georgia when he had Jordan Davis in front of him. All these things lend to a defense that should be able to wreak some havoc here. And they're also not playing great teams. I mean, you're playing Detroit that doesn't have a great quarterback. Washington, who knows what Wentz is going to look like. Trevor Lawrence in his second year. Pittsburgh, we don't know if that's going to be Trubisky or Pickett at this point. Davis Mills. Beyond that, New York with Daniel Jones and Justin Fields only in his second year. And who knows in New Orleans, maybe it's Jameis, maybe it isn't, whatever. I mean, that's the large majority.
Maybe it's Drew Brees.
Maybe it's Drew Brees who said he didn't know what he was going to be doing next year. But the point is, I mean, aside from Kyler Murray, I would certainly put him in that category. Dak, who has carved them up, recently. Matt Ryan, who's a pro's pro, would still got gas left in the tank. And Aaron Rodgers, clearly. There isn't a ton there in terms of great quarterback play. They played a better quarterback schedule last year.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. You should be able to take advantage of a lot of these quarterbacks in the National Football League. Hey, even a few of them they're playing this year, you have to question, should they even be starters in the National Football League? But that's to your advantage. Those are the type of games where you can pile up a lot of stats offensively and defensively. Every team has those games on your schedule where you can, pile up stats, whether it's sacks, running yards, passing yards. Eagles got a number of those games on their schedule right now. But, I know it's cliche. Players say it all the time, but it's so true. You don't overlook any opponent on any given Sunday because any one of them can rise up. This is not like college where you're playing Alabama versus Troy, Oklahoma against Texas A&I. a bad team in the NFL can come up and bite you in any given moment. You have to take every game. If there was ever a time we're going to hear week to week, we have to take it day to day, week to week. This is the year for the Eagles.
You know, the over-under going into the 2022 season prior to the draft.
Right.
It was 8.5, I think. You look at it now. I had him at 11 wins. I'm going to stay at 11 for right now. It's a 2-win improvement off of last year. But I wonder, and I'll see if I can check with some of my friends in Vegas. I wonder if that number's changed, Derek, with the moves that the Eagles have made. I wonder if that 8.5 has gone to, 9, 10. If people want to jump in the comment section. Yeah, because to me, it just makes a lot of sense that would, and I'm checking right now to see, I don't see anything right now. If that number moved, I would think, I think it's pretty fair to go with it. And maybe I'm being conservative here with 11. Where do you fall in terms of win total, at least looking at it on paper, assuming health, all that good stuff that we always do?
You know me, I hate predicting, wins.
Yeah.
I hate doing it. I know it's a big part of what we do and what fans do and want to hear. But I've said 10, and I'm going to stay on that teeter-totter of 10, 11 wins. I'm right there. Again, I base my answer to you on health, because if a Darius Slay, if a James Bradbury goes down, I think the talent level falls off significantly. That's not a knock on the younger players, but the younger players still developing. Opponents will attack those areas if your frontliners go down. What is Jalen Hurts going to look like in 2022? What is Jonathan Gannon's defense overall going to look like in 2022? So I put that caveat out there of if all of this falls into place. So I'm going to stay right there between 10, 11 wins. They're going to win a game. You're not expecting them to win. They're going to lose a game. You're not expecting them to lose. So I'm going to stay right there in that Bermuda Triangle, so to speak, of 10, 11.
But I just, I always like to do this exercise where you sit back and you say to yourself, all right, if I told you this, if I told you X,
right,
2.5 months ago, what would you say? If I told you, Derek, back, let's go February. All right. February 18th. Is that what today is? The 18th. All right. February 18th. And we're sitting there and I said to you, all right, let me throw some names at you this offseason. A.J. Brown, James Bradbury, Hassan Reddick, Kaiser White. They would just be the moves that the Eagles made in terms of signings and trades.
Right.
Then in the draft, they get two guys off of a top 5 in the history of college football defense.
Right.
One led them in tackles and was the alpha male leader in Nakobe Dean. The other one maybe has more potential than anybody who was taken in the draft on the defensive side of the ball with the speed and size in Jordan Davis. I mean, I think Eagles fans would have been doing backflips or probably saying, dude, give me a break. They can't do all of that with the cap restrictions, et cetera. That's what they did. This is not if they get this, if they do that. This is fact. This is what they did. Tell me a team that's had a better offseason.
I can't tell you. Maybe. Let's see. Miami spent a lot of money.
They did.
Jacksonville spent a lot of money.
Denver gets Russell Wilson, which is a big deal.
Denver gets Russell, no question about it. Vegas gets Devontae Adams. Vegas already had a decent defense, but you put a Devontae Adams with Hunter Renfrow and the talent they have there.
Waller, the tight end, who's a beast.
Waller, the tight is a beast. But I think the Eagles' moves are right up there. You got a top tier wide receiver in A.J. Brown. You got one of the better outside edge rushers in Hassan Reddick, who had 23.5 sacks over the last couple of seasons. You go out and get a proven corner to go opposite Darius Slay today and James Bradbury. You got two young men coming off a championship season from Georgia in Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. What else could you ask for? Yeah. I mean, seriously, what else can you ask for?
Yeah, and look, now it's up to the players. I think the front office has put this organization, this team, in a position to succeed. Now it comes down to the guys making plays. And obviously we're going to always get back to Jalen Hurts, and rightfully so, understood with him. But he's got weapons on the outside, Derek. He's got 2 quality receivers now. He's got a quality tight end. He's got a good running game. He's got arguably the best offensive line in football. it's there for him to succeed. Jonathan Gannon has the tools now to succeed as the defensive coordinator. For Howie has put them in a position to succeed. If they don't, it's on them.
I'm not ready to put Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew in the same breath with the 2017 combination of Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. But it's promising. It's all promising. We've seen teams, and let's say Jalen Hurts is not much better. Let me go on record of saying I expect Jalen Hurts to be much better than he was last year.
Right.
But let's say Jalen Hurts is not much better than he was last year. We've seen in history over the last 20 years, defenses have carried offenses and gotten teams into the conference championship games, and in some cases gotten them to a Super Bowl. And on paper, this is a defense that could carry an offense if the offense is sputtering. And vice versa. You have enough offensive weapons now that if the defense is having inconsistencies, you have enough power on the offense now that can put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses and take a lot of pressure off your defense.
And we couldn't say that last year.
No, absolutely not.
Not on either side of the ball, right? I mean, it felt like the offense never picked up the defense never picked up the offense, and a lot of the success that they had from a team perspective was, I mean, let's be honest with you, they weren't playing great opponents. I think they're better equipped now, Derek, to handle the big boys, to not just get throttled when they play Tampa or fill in the blank. I think they're much better suited to try to compete with the upper echelon teams in the NFC now.
Oh, no question. I think that goes without saying that. But again, we're all hyped up and jacked up and fan base, rightfully so, because of what we're seeing on paper in May. I'm going to be optimistic, enthusiastic, but I'm going to reserve some of that until September. I need to see it when the bullets are flying for real.
No doubt.
I'm not going to be impressed in practice. Some people go out there and get wild by practice sessions. I'm not going to be impressed in preseason. We're not going to see much of anything in the preseason. But when the bullets start flying for real in September, when they hit the ground running against Detroit, that's when I want to see what A.J. Brown can do, game situations. How much has Devontae Smith proved? How much has Jalen Hurts improved? How stout does this defense look with the new additions on the edge, in the middle, at the mic position, on the corners now? And even the young guys coming back, they're going to get their reps. Zach McPherson, Marcus Epps. How much have they improved? So I'm going to reserve some of my enthusiasm and optimism until then.
Fair enough. All right, let's do this. Let's get a quick timeout, catch your breath a little bit here. We'll come back. Todd Zalecki's going to join us from MLB.com. We are far from done with the Eagles. Coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, we have Howard Eskin. He'll be down at the NovaCare complex where the players and the staff are meeting with the media. And then at 2:30, Dan Klecko, who played for the Birds, the Patriots, and the Colts, has 3 Super Bowl rings, as well as the Big East Player of the Year when he was at Temple. So we got a lot in store. Don't go anywhere. D-Gun, fighting through it. He's a trooper. Rob Ellis, we are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass. Free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Sports Take on this Wednesday, hump day, big day. The Eagles signed James Bradberry to a one-year deal, could be worth up to $10 million. You team him now with Darius Slay. Avonte Maddox in that secondary should be nasty. There is no doubt about that. So we'll continue with the Eagles talk, that's for sure. NBA, the Heat strike first, Derek. Jimmy Butler goes over 40 again.
Woo!
Man, they just flipped that game on its ear at halftime because Boston was really, despite not having Horford or Smart, was dominating. But the Heat take care of business. And also the other big story is the Phillies last night taking on the Padres. They came back from that great road trip, and the Bats were still slumbering. I think they were still on the flight back from L.A., that's for sure. So the Phillies go down to the Padres last night. A little later in the show, Howard Eskin's going to be joining us. After that, it will be Dan Klecko, that's for sure. And we talked a little bit earlier to Barrett Brooks, who was at Brian Dawkins' charity golf tournament, which you're going to be joining in about an hour plus, Derek. So I'm excited to talk to our next guest, and he joins us from MLB.com. I like that he's sporting the Robin Yount jersey, repping the Milwaukee.
I like that.
I forgot about this. I forgot. No.
Yeah,
I'm surrounded. I'm surrounded. Oh no.
That's a great thing to be surrounded by a couple of Wisconsinites.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Todd.
Here we go.
Now,
Here we go.
Now, I know I'm much older than you are, but just to show you my history, I worked for WITI TV6 in Milwaukee back in the early '80s, and when I got there in '82, I was covering the Brewers from '82 to '87. You had Robin Yount, Paul Molitor, Jim Gantner, Cecil Cooper, and then you had Harvey's Wallbangers out there. Oh my goodness, man! I feel you had Gorman Thomas,
Ben Ogilvy,
Raleigh Fingers, yes.
And that was my squad. That was the first time. That was my first baseball memory. Was the '82 Brewers, because I was born in '75, so I was 7 years old when the Brewers went to the World Series. So that's kind of how I got hooked on baseball. Was the '82 Brewers, and that's why I got the Robin Yount jersey back there. He was my favorite player growing up, and I once, when I was a kid, I went to a Brewers Fest down at some convention center down Mecca or wherever, and I waited in line for 6 hours for a Robin Yount autograph, and I got that right up there.
There you go. And by the way, you guys know this, I know, but originally, right, he wore number 7, and then he changed to 19 when he moved, I guess, from shortstop to center field. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How about my Milwaukee Brewer knowledge on you guys right
Look
now?
at you. Look at you.
Yes.
The thing that broke my heart, that team was so potent. They were known as Harvey's Wallbangers. And they had 4 guys easily hitting 30 home runs a year. They never won the World Series. I was at that Game 7 that they lost to St. Louis. It broke my heart, man. You're trying to be objective. You're trying to be professional. And I'm sitting here, and my heart's just in my throat, brother. And they've never come close to repeating that feat.
Never come close. Isn't that unbelievable? I love that team.
Well, look, Todd, man, a lot to dive into here. And by the way, I tell everybody, check out Todd's book, Doc, The Life of Roy Halladay. It's a phenomenal read. And also, you always check out Todd's work at Todd Zalecki on Twitter and MLB.com. Todd, how many years have you been covering the Phillies now between the Yankee and MLB?
I started, my first year was 2003. So I guess this is my 19th season. 19,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, Todd's been around the team for a very long time during the great years as well.
Todd, where'd you grow up in Wisconsin?
New Berlin, so right outside of Milwaukee.
Oh yeah, right outside
West
Milwaukee.
Dallas,
Yeah,
West Dallas, New Berlin. Yep.
Yeah. I went to Brown Deer High School.
Okay, I went to Waukesha Catholic Memorial.
There you go. Sorry, Rob, you're out of this discussion.
I'm just gonna lay down. You guys keep doing your thing. I'm loving it, man.
We'll talk Packers next.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Oh, don't get me started.
Well, Todd, so here's what I'm trying to figure out, man. And look, baseball, it's who knows? I mean, one game doesn't portend to mean anything, but you come off that scorching trip where the offense is just unreal against some really good, legitimate pitching, okay, especially in LA. And then you come back last night and they're sleepwalking. And I know Harper's not in the lineup, but they're sleepwalking again. No walks, 10 strikeouts. How do you figure this team and this offense?
It really is inconsistent. That's the fourth time they've had a shutout loss this season. That's pretty amazing for an offense. When you look at the overall numbers, they're like top 5 in every category, if not, lead. Just the other day, they're number 1 in OPS and slugging, and I think they were 3rd in runs scored. But it's this wild inconsistency. So yeah, last night they come out totally flat. I mean, Nick Castellanos said, he's like, yeah, for whatever reason, we just came out flat today, and a lot of that. Clevenger pitched well, and sorry about that.
We lost your audio for a second. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, am I back?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so Clevenger, a lot of it has to do with Clevenger and Mackenzie Gore pitched well, but they just seem to be inconsistent. And losing Harper hurts. I mean, Castellanos also said this. He's like, I don't want to make excuses, but the guy's been hitting 600 over the last 6 games.
Absolutely.
It hurts to lose him. The other thing is that, Kyle Schwarber's just cannot get on track. He was 0-for-4 with 4 strikeouts last night. JT Realmuto has not been hitting the ball well pretty much all season. So they have some guys in there that they need to get a little bit more out of to help them out and be more consistent. They aren't getting that right now.
I'm glad you brought up Realmuto because, look, we focus on Schwarber, rightfully so, hovering around the Mendoza line and under, and they can't really figure out the leadoff spot in general, this team. And guys were struggling early. Some have heated up. Todd, really the last couple of years since he signed the big deal, Realmuto's kind of just been okay. He hasn't been awful by any stretch, but even last night, there's a big moment. He grounds into that twin killing, man. He has not been clutch either. Like, what do you make of what's happening with him?
Yeah, it's a little concerning just because, like you said, I feel like even last year, he wasn't the, best catcher in baseball, which, when he re-signed, everybody was so excited about. Offensively, he just has not been there. And if you look at some of those metrics, exit velocity, just hitting the ball hard. He's not hitting the ball hard. Mm-hmm. And I know some people don't like talking about exit velocity, but it tells you if a guy's making solid contact or not. And if a guy's making solid contact over time, those balls are going to start falling for hits. Well, he's not doing that. It's a lot of soft contact, and that's concerning. And maybe it's funny. I hate to say this, but a lot of people have been, anytime he's not in the lineup, right? Joe gets killed for not playing him, but he's caught more games and caught more innings than anybody else in baseball by like Maybe he needs to get off his feet more. I don't know if that's affecting him. I'm sure he would say, no, that's not affecting me, but he's playing a ton, and he's not able to carry to his work at the plate right now.
Hey, Todd, how do you think Girardi's handled the pressure of a team that has underachieved up to this point, and he's taken a lot of questions about that?
I think he's handled it well just because he spent so many years in New York where he would just get killed for every move that did not work out. So I mean, he's not happy. There's no doubt about it. He's not happy. And I think there's a lot of frustration there because he sees a team that should be playing better. But I don't see those moments at least in dealing with us, sometimes when a manager's frustrated, you ask him a simple question and he'll just snap back at you, like, kind of like Doc Rivers is doing, I feel like, a lot these days. But I don't sense that with Joe, but certainly there's a lot of pressure on him to get this team to start playing better. He's in the final year of his deal. They had a club option. Dave Dombrowski made a point to say, I'm not dealing with this until the end of the season. He could have come out. Scott Lauber from the Inquirer talked to him about Dave Dombrowski about a week and a half ago, and Dave kind of said, "Well, we're all to blame, and I'm not going to get into the manager situation." And I always read between the lines there. I mean, you guys know, right? You read between the lines there. So if Dave Dombrowski knew that without a doubt Joe's my guy, he could have said, "Joe Girardi's my guy through the end of the season." I mean, don't even ask me a question. Come hell or high water, Joe Girardi's my manager. And he did not say that. He just said, I don't really want to get in the manager situation. That's not my style. That's not the thing I do. Okay. So I think there's definitely pressure on Joe to get this going.
Todd, we're trying to grapple with the Harper thing. And I had zero issue with the way they timed it out. I thought it made sense, even though he was on fire. You get it done out there. He gets the day off Monday today. Who knows about it? Maybe if he's in the lineup tonight or not. But I didn't have any issue with that part of it. But it is a little troubling, when you hear, hey, we'll revisit this in a few months here where the guy can throw again. And it seems like even when they do these injections, it always sort of ends up back in Tommy John category here. Now, the good news is it's his right elbow. He hits left-handed. He swears up and down that it's not hurting him or anything like that. And he could probably ride out the year barring any kind of major setback. But how serious is this thing?
I mean, it's serious. It's serious enough where they finally decided to take him to Neil Elatrash, who's a very highly regarded orthopedist out in LA, to get kind of a third, fourth, fifth opinion on it. And they discovered the tear. And serious enough where they finally gave him a PRP injection, because every time we talked to Bryce about this over the past month, I would always say, are you in line for a shot? He said, no, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Because I think they thought that the injury was insignificant enough that over time it would heal. And clearly it was not healing. So they got the PRP shot. And I didn't have a problem with the timing either. I mean, you don't know going into LA that he's going to probably be hitting 600 and, and there's not a lot of days off coming up. So the further back you push back the shot, the less time he has to play in right field. So, but it's, he's not going to throw for 4 weeks. So it's May 18th. He got the shot. So now we're in the middle of June before he starts throwing. And it's not like on June 18th. I mean, you guys know he's not going to go out to right field and just start flinging balls to home plate. It's going to be like I would play catch with my son, a lot of like very light throwing.
Yeah.
And then he's going to do that for a week. And then he's going to go out to maybe 90 feet and 120 feet and then keep progressing if there's progress to be made. So I think at the very earliest, you might get him in right field, before the All-Star break, but I could see them waiting till after the All-Star break. So it's serious.
In terms of rehabbing it, I think it's going to irritate him all season long, because when you start extending this thing, it causes an irritation. If you have a slight tear in there, normally you would just have to keep it stabilized for X amount of days or weeks to try to let that thing heal. But because even though he's not throwing, he's still extending that. He's using an object that's unbalanced, 36, 34, whatever he uses, and he's going to continue to irritate this thing. So from my perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's something that's going to linger for the rest of the season.
I mean, it very well might. Now, here's one thing that he said that I thought was interesting yesterday, is that he said, thank goodness it's my right elbow. Well, I mean,
okay.
And not my left elbow in terms of the hitting, because Hoskins in 2020 was clobbered at first base. He tore his the ligament in his left elbow, and he said that was his top hand, and that he just could not hit. So he says he feels fortunate it's the bottom elbow, the right elbow, and in terms of his hitting, so it's not going to irritate him. But you're right. I mean, that's the big question mark, is if he keeps taking these aggressive hacks, maybe something does not allow him to heal that much more quickly. So it really is going to be fascinating to see if he is in right field. I asked him point blank, I said, because somebody asked him, said, could you be out in right field in 4 weeks? He said, absolutely not. 4 weeks. Absolutely. No chance I'm in right field in 4 weeks. I said, do you see yourself being in the field this season at any point this season? He said, oh yeah, definitely. That's the plan. So he thinks at some point he's going to be back out there. Time will tell.
Well, look, Todd, the offense has been, other than last night, which we'll get into in a second, has been great, but there's still areas of concern. Lead off, they can't quite figure that out, it feels like. But I also got to ask you about center field, man, which just has been a continual black hole here for this team. Is the hope just simply Moniak gets healthy, and I know he's starting a rehab or whatever, and you plug him in, or is there going to be something else in the works here? Because this ain't cutting it, man.
Yeah, I think right now it's just to move forward with what they have and hope that one of these guys, maybe Moniak, comes back and he can. But that's expecting a lot. And I know right now, everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people I hear from is like, got to get Moniak back in there and run him out there. He's the answer.
Right. Can you imagine they're saying that now? What were they saying about Moniak 6 months ago?
And believe me, I love Mickey Moniak, and I hope he does, because he's a great kid, and I hope he enjoys a lot of success in his career. But Mickey also had a tremendous 2021 spring training, and really struggled last year. So I'm not like Mickey comes back and all right, guys, it's cool now. Like, don't worry about it. But it is a concern, Odubel got off to a good start. He struggled, and, Odubel does his Odubel things, which frustrates a lot of people. Roman Quinn, he shouldn't be out there that much. He's basically the 26th guy, late inning defensive replacement, pinch runner guy. They thought Matt Vierling would be better than he was. He's not. And this kind of goes back to, hey, they flopped on the Adam Hazley draft pick. Moniak has not developed like they had hoped. I mean, they should have somebody in this organization that should be able to be their everyday center fielder, but because of some drafting mistakes, they don't have that guy right now.
Is the cupboard in general, when you talk about minor league talent, is the cupboard bare across the board?
It's not bare. I would say position player wise at the top levels, they're hurting right now. They don't have a lot of guys in AAA where, you really don't have anybody in AAA where you're sitting there going, this guy is a month away from really making. But they have made some improvements on the pitching side. They do have some good young arms. Some of those guys are not going to help this season. I'm talking about Andrew Painter, their first round pick from a year ago.
Sure.
Amazing. But Logan O'Hoppe, a catcher in AA Reading, he could be the catcher of the future. As we talked about JT earlier. And but they don't have that impact guy coming up right now where you're like, okay, Bryson Stott is supposed to be that guy. And right now he's struggling with the Phillies.
I got to ask you about last night. Clevenger comes back. He came back from Tommy John, and a guy who's got a ton of potential. We saw how good he was, with Cleveland days. Todd, I got to tell you, I must not understand the balk rule, because there looked like there were at least 4 or 5 just from watching the game from afar last night in front of my TV at home, where I thought he balked. Now, you tell me. Like, I know he's a fidgety dude to begin with, but there's a lot going on there with Clevenger.
Yeah, I think it's because that's his regular move towards the plate. Like, he's not kind of moving towards first base if there's a runner on, and that's kind of his traditional move. So the umpires give him some leeway there. But yeah, it is totally baffling me, because sometimes I feel like the balk. I have trouble with the balk rule myself. Like, I'm going, why is that not a balk? This is a balk, but that's not a balk. It's kind of baffling. But Clevenger is one of those guys. I would hate hitting against him, because he is literally, I think, like trying to rock you to sleep and just annoy the heck out of you. Annoy the heck out of you,
Yep. Yeah. And it worked.
It worked.
Go ahead, Derek. You're muted, bud.
Can't hear you.
Yes, you're muted. That's okay. Get yourself straightened out. I'll hit Todd with another question while you get yourself fixed. Yeah, you are muted right now. So, Todd, let me ask you, was what we saw on the West Coast the outlier in terms of offensive productivity? I mean, it feels that way, at least. I know it's only one game. You can't get crazy. But for the most part, it was really up and down before that. They put together some consistency out on the West Coast, and now we're right back to kind of the drawing point. Like, what are they as an offensive team? Because there's a lot of dudes in that lineup that are legit. This is not, one of these situations where you're kind of hoping. I mean, the Castellanos and the Harpers and the, et cetera, are proven guys. So why have they been so up and down?
Yeah, it really isn't. Well, you have a guy like Hoskins, and he's traditionally super hot, super cold. When he gets hot, he can carry the team for a month. When he's cold, it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on with this guy? We talked about Real Muto. He's really underperformed this season. Schwarber, it's weird. He's hitting under 200. He's got a ton of home runs
and RBIs. Yeah,
a lot of RBIs, good slugging percentage. Mm-hmm. The OPS, actually, when you compare it to the league average, he's above average. So, it says a lot about where baseball is right now.
He's a metric dream. He's an analytics dream. Yeah.
You look at his batting average, you go, terrible season. And I'm not saying he's not having, below average year, but then you look at the OPS numbers, he's actually overall with his power, he's been above average. But there's no doubt it's been inconsistent. The shortstop has been a problem, although Camargo at times has been very good. Didi is not hitting the ball well when he was healthy.
Yeah.
Bryson Stott has not hit the ball. Bohm's been pretty good. Segura's been very good. And then you had the whole issue with center field where you just don't know what you're going to get every night. I think they're closer to the West Coast version than they were last night, but they are that real hot and cold team right now. And they just don't have enough defense and enough consistent bullpen performance to kind of bail them out on those nights when they only get 3 runs across and they're up 3-2 going into the 6th inning. It's not a great feeling.
And that's where I was going to go with you next. We've lived over the last 3-4 years through, horrific bullpen. Maybe as bad as Major League Baseball has seen over that stretch. Mm-hmm. And you saw some of the moves they made in the offseason, Knebel and some others. You get Sir Anthony back, and he's certainly, I wouldn't put him in this category. He's been very good. But Are we in the same boat here, Todd? Or has this just been kind of a rough stretch for them?
It is interesting because it's almost like everybody they bring in, it just
they get worse. Yeah,
not work out. Like Corey Knebel to me is fascinating because he's actually pitched pretty well, but the 2 blown saves he's had, they have been kind of like spectacular blown saves. The game against the Mets, of course, like that almost never happens, and then the game against the Dodgers, with just what was on the line. 1-2 count, Cody Bellinger, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, nobody on. You get 1 more strike. You sweep the Dodgers, who are the best team in the National League, maybe in baseball. You go home on a 6-1 road trip, and he blows the game. And I feel like we've seen so many of those types of games, whether it's Corey Knebel, Heath Hembry, Brandon Workman, Hector Neris, go down.
Murderer's Row. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about Knebel. Familia has been very inconsistent, though. And Jose Alvarado, how do you, I get you have to pitch who you have sometimes. Sometimes like guys aren't available, but how do you feel good right now about putting Jose Alvarado in the game? He's so wildly inconsistent. I say it every night, whoever's sitting next to me in the press box, I go, either he is going to strike out 3 batters in like 9 pitches, or it's going to be like 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 3 wild pitches, blown game. That's kind of what you get with Alvarado right now.
Well, I would, Todd, right now, I would go Sir Anthony sets up Knebel and roll from there. That's to me, just process of elimination. I know Knebel's had the couple that we just talked about, but I would still roll with him as the closer and set up with Sir Anthony.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Brad Hand's been okay too. Yeah. He gave up that big double last night. He's been okay. Mm-hmm. But that, you think back to like why the 2008 Phillies were so good. You had Lidge, obviously he was perfect, but you're not going to get that guy's perfect, but you had Romero, you had Scott Air, Chad Durbin was great. Mm-hmm. You had Clay Condery was a great role player in that bullpen. You had a lot of those guys that could, just everybody seemed to pitch well.
Right.
And now you throw out James Norwood in one game, he's great. Next game, he's giving up rocket shots off the wall. And, it's that inconsistency again that you can get you can get past the offense having a bad night and only scoring 3 runs if you're playing good defense and you have a good bullpen that can hold the lead, but they don't have that defensive bullpen consistency to kind of make that happen.
Go ahead, Gunner. We got Derek back up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. Yes, we got you. It's a miracle.
I'm back. Todd, is this a team, in all honesty, that can stay with the Mets from start to finish?
I don't know if they can stay with the Mets. The Mets are really good, and they could get DeGrom back at some point. They're solid. They're a really solid team. I don't know if they can run back and catch the Mets and keep up with the Mets, but I still do think that this is a team that should. I mean, they should make the playoffs. There's 3 wild card teams. They have to get one of those 3 wild card teams. You can't go $10 million over their luxury tax. First time in franchise history over their luxury tax. You can't have a $240 million payroll and not make the playoffs. Right. Whatever the shortcomings are, this team is built to make the playoffs. So if they don't make the playoffs, again, even just getting in that 3rd wild card, and I know that's nothing to celebrate, but for a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2011, you got to do it. You got to get there. You got to
no question. Well, here, Todd, good news is while the bullpen has been, what it's been the last few years, I think the starting pitching's been really good, man. I mean, it looks like Aaron Nola has rounded back into being Aaron Nola with whoever that guy was last year. Wheeler, coming back. It's been a little bumpy, but for the most part has settled in pretty nicely. Eflin, pretty darn good last night for 15 straight days off. And, Gibson's been okay, kind of what you thought it would be. I think for the most part, they've done a nice job. Suarez too.
Yeah, I agree that, before they signed Castellanos and Schwarber, I think going into spring training, everybody would have said the rotation is this team's strength based off the fact that they're somewhat old school in that a lot of these guys you expect to kind of go out and pitch 6 innings. It's not a 5 and dive type of guy, type of rotation. It's not a start, you don't have an opener type of guy or 2 in there where, you throw a relief pitcher in for the first inning. It's more of a traditional starting pitching staff, which Dave Dombrowski likes and which a lot of people like. But yeah, I think that if the rotation keeps doing what it's doing, and if you get a little bit more consistency from the offense, that's why I still think that with all that other stuff that's kind of going on, that they should be able to lock down one of those 3 wild cards.
Agreed.
If you try to shore up the pitching, how do you make trades if it comes to that without messing up the continuity of what you already have?
Well, I think what you're talking about, like maybe in the bullpen you're talking about, or
because teams are going to want one of your power hitters, so you're going to have to give up something to get something to make the pitching staff better.
Well, I think if I'm the Phillies right now, and we just talked about how the cupboard's kind of bare, in the upper levels, but they do have some talent in the lower levels. I think they're going to have to trade one of those younger guys, a prospect or 2, not an Andrew Painter or a Mick Abel or but if you can get a stud arm for Logan O'Hoppe, who I love, and I think he has a bright future, but if it's the difference between making the playoffs and not, because you do have JT signed for the next 3 years, you might have to consider that. But I think they would have to dip into that farm system pool and add that way by subtracting from the farm system rather than maybe dealing somebody on the big league roster.
No question. Todd, listen, man, we do appreciate the time. I tell everybody, check out Todd's work. MLB.com does an amazing job.
Right there, baby. Wisconsin's finest.
And we had to get Gunner a Wisconsin guy, or else he was going to quit the show. So we had to.
Do I have any Packer stuff here? But I got a lot of. Oh wait, here we go.
Oh boy, here we go.
Look at this. This is a Max McGee autographed Packer.
Look at you.
I got a Paul Hornung one over that. I don't want to brag, but I got a Paul Hornung one.
Oh, look at you, name dropper. Okay. Todd, we appreciate it, man. And again, check out Todd's book if you haven't already on Doc Holliday, Doc, The Life of Roy Halladay. It's great stuff. Todd, we appreciate it, man. Looking forward to talking to you down the line, man. Thank you very much.
Guys. Good talking to you. Had fun. Thanks.
You got it. Thanks. It's Todd's a real good dude and knows the game inside and out. All right, Gunnar, let's step aside. We come back. We're going right back to the Eagles, man, and what the big move that was made today with James Bradberry and just what they've done so far this offseason, man. Eagles fans are through the roof. That's for sure. So don't move. Gunner got him till 2 o'clock. We'll talk to you, Derek, when we get back, as well as everybody. Keep smashing that like button, folks. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Hey, I want to tell you, this is critical. We all know that financing and finances and your finances are kind of a scary subject for a lot of people, myself included, right? It's a scary proposition. And you want to make sure that you're using the right people to invest your money. I mean, that you've worked hard your whole life and you deserve to be set up for, post-working career. I've had the same problems up and down, but I found the right person, and that's for sure. And that's Jim Murray with Principal Financial Group. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, if you have a small business and you need help with employee benefits, that's another resource that Jim can assist you with. I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollover to Jim, and I've just consulted with him on other things, and he breaks it down in a way that you can understand it, even if you're not in finance. And he does an unbelievable job. I couldn't be happier. You could be happy too. Just give him a call, 610-996-4751. You can email him at Murray, MURRAY.Jim@Principal, PRINCIPAL.com.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Rob Ellis, the gun. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Barrett is out playing in Brian Dawkins' charity golf tournament, and Derek will be joining him a little bit, about 20 minutes, somewhere in that range. Coming up at 2 o'clock, we have Howard Eskin from WIP. Howard's down at the NovaCare Complex where some Eagles are meeting with the media. And then at 2:30, Dan Klecko, who played for not only the Eagles, but won 3 rings with the Patriots and the Colts, and actually caught touchdown passes. Derek, how about this distinction?
That's right.
from Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, a guy who played predominantly defense. Isn't that pretty crazy, man? That is wild.
I know, man. Hey, it was funny. Like I told you before, it's the first time I've ever done a show from my phone of any kind, right?
Right.
This is weird trying to set it up. So I didn't like my shot. So I asked my wife in a commercial break, I said, hey, do you have anything I could use, a book, so I can elevate the shot? She gives me this incredible stand, a phone stand, metal phone stand that she has. I'm like, oh, man, I got to get one of these.
Uh-huh.
Anything she has, I got to get one of these.
I know, man. Thank God for Trish, man.
I know, man. What would I do without her?
I don't know. It's a great question. So during the break, I'm looking at the Eagles depth chart. Okay.
Right.
And specifically on the defensive side of the ball, because it's funny. We went through this exercise the other day and talking about positions that we have concern about, position battles and all that kind of stuff. But Gunnar, let me throw this starting lineup for you on the defensive side of the ball. And if you're just tuning in, the Eagles signed James Bradberry, corner from formerly the Giants, and before that he was with the Carolina Panthers. So let me throw this at you and tell me what you think, and tell me if you would tweak something or move somebody around. So let's start with the left side and on the defensive line. Brandon Graham, starting left defensive end. Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. You go to the right side, Derek Barnett. I think that one's debatable. I'd probably go Sweat, but okay. Weak side linebacker, Kaiser White. Middle linebacker, TJ Edwards. Strong side linebacker, Hassan Reddick. Now you can make an argument. You throw Nakobe Dean in there. You move some of those parts around, but we'll get into that. Left corner, Darius Slay. Right corner, James Bradberry. Starting free safety, Anthony Harris. Starting strong safety, Kayvon Wallace. I may throw Epps in there. But all of a sudden now you look at that starting lineup, that's a pretty formidable defense from one that went from being last year at best.
Let's go. You've increased the productivity in terms of your pass rush with Hassan Reddick alone. You have Brandon Graham coming back. Keep your fingers crossed, because anytime a player's older who comes off an Achilles injury, you don't know what that's going to be like. And who did we just see? It was a story that just came out earlier today. A player that was coming off an Achilles, hadn't played since 2020. Ruptured Phillies again today in a video.
It was yesterday. Yeah, Tariq Cohen.
Tariq Cohen.
Terrible. So Gunnar, he's trying to show teams, hey, I still got it, and he's Instagramming it. Wasn't doing anything to he was just trying to show teams, hey, this is what I look like. And the poor guy blows his Achilles out in the middle of the workout, and he's done for the year again.
And he's younger than Brandon Graham, and people are already wondering, is his career over?
Right.
It's sad because he's such a good back, small back, but a very good back, very good return guy. And you hate to see that. And that's why I say keep your fingers crossed when it comes to Brandon Graham. Yeah. Older players, those injuries heal a lot quicker, but you're also more susceptible to have an injury like that occur again. Yeah. But can you imagine you've got Brandon Graham coming off one direction, Hassan Reddick, Nakobe Dean coming off in other directions. That's a quarterback's nightmare. Defense coordinators, offensive coordinators, and quarterbacks have a lot of sleepless nights worrying about that kind of firepower coming at them. And, of course, you have two of the best in the game in Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. They don't pile up a lot of sacks like an Aaron Donald, but they push the pocket. They control the interior line of scrimmage. They command double teams, which allows a lot of other guys to free themselves up and finish off the play. So that's an offensive coordinator, quarterback's nightmare. Again, if it falls into place, you can't emphasize that enough. I've seen potentially good defenses bottom out, and I've seen defenses nobody thought much of anything, and all of a sudden it gelled and ended up in the top 3 or 4 defenses in the National Football League. So there's so much to be optimistic about this team. And I would imagine also the number of people and fans and onlookers are going to increase when it comes to training camp. I know the Eagles have more of a controlled environment now because it's at NovaCare more so than Lehigh. Mm-hmm. But you're going to have more people knocking at the door trying to get into those practice sessions, and rightfully so because of the potential of what this defense and this team could be this year.
It's very rare that the Eagles fan base has sort of a universal view on something, right?
Right.
Like there's usually people are very torn or whatever. I mean, I don't know, and judging by our comment section, what I'm seeing on social media, what people are saying, but there is just this sort of collective praise of what's happened in this offseason and excitement. I mean, we went into this offseason, I think, with optimism. Optimism's probably fair. But I think we've graduated to a point with the moves that they've made where people are through the roof about this team, and the expectations have risen in a huge way here.
Remember, tell me the last time a fan base has been in unison across social media platforms singing the praises of Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman MVP. Howie Roseman, when was the last time that happened? Maybe 2017 when they brought in Alshon Jeffrey and brought in some of those other pieces to complete that Super Bowl run. But it's hard to remember the last time people were really embracing Howie Roseman the way they are right now. Howie Roseman has basically given his fan base a lot of hope. This was a fan base that went in with a lot of optimism, even before today's move for 2021. A lot of reservation because of Jalen Hurts and Jonathan Gannon. Now, all of a sudden, there's more optimism, more so than anything else. But, Rob, as you know, you're from here. You know how this is. Fans get so jacked up sometimes that when you have a letdown, it's like the world has ended. And that's why I always say, you know what? You have to kind of, it's like driving a car. Sometimes you got to go 30 miles an hour. Sometimes you can go 7, and sometimes you got to do the speed limit, 55,
Yeah.
But Eagles fans in this area, man, they're all right now doing it. It's like they're on the Autobahn. They're doing over 100 miles an hour right now, what this team could possibly be.
Yeah, but you know what, Derek? And this is not even specific to this, what we're talking about, but it's more of a fan thing in general. It's okay. Like, you should be able to enjoy yourself. Like, I know ultimately, hey, we're going to see, and they have to stay healthy, and we'll find out once, only one team wins the Super Bowl, and all that's all well and good. But, we're in May. If your team can give you this kind of excitement level and this kind of joy in May, enjoy it, man. You're a fan. Like, you don't have to sit there and look at it objectively, like maybe we do or whatever. Like, I say to the fans, dude, have fun today. You should have a lot to be excited about. Yeah.
Hey, you know what though? See, from a business standpoint, think about this: the number of jerseys they're going to sell. James Bradbury,
AJ Brown,
N'Kobe Dean.
Oh man,
Jordan Davis. Think about the merchandising sales that are going through the roof between now and September as well.
Yeah, the pro shop is tearing it up, I'm sure. You know what I mean? They are killing it right now. Yeah, that's for sure. But I think it is good. It's like a communal thing. You know how it is. You get together with your buddies, or you're texting with your buddy. You believe this? You believe what they do? In a good way. I mean, there's think about the crap with the Sixers and how frustrated we get with the Phillies and how bad the Flyers were and all that. You deal with enough of that kind of stuff. So enjoy it. Have fun. You have an organization that is clearly going out in this offseason saying, we're pushing in here, man. So, realize that.
Hey, man, look, the sun is shining. It's mid-70s outside.
Mm-hmm.
And the Eagles get James Bradbury. It's the perfect trifecta for Eagles fans, right?
Life is good, man.
It's good. Enjoy it while you can,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So then, you look at that, and that's one side. And let me mention a couple others, because I see people on the stream saying this. Yeah, I didn't mention Avonte Maddox. Absolutely. He's your slot guy for sure. Yep. I mentioned, I think Epps might get the call ahead of Kayvon Wallace. We'll see how some of that ends up happening. But, they all of a sudden have some depth now too, because we're throwing some of those names out there. Gunner, I didn't mention Jordan Davis. I didn't mention Milton Williams, right? And right. Sweat and Barnett can go either way. I didn't mention Zach McPherson, who Barrett is pretty high on, or at least thinks the organization will be. Sean Bradley, a guy who could step in there, a good special teamer, but also a pretty good backup. Taron Jackson, who I know they're high on. Like, we haven't had the opportunity to talk about depth like this in a very long time, and there's some depth here now too.
Yeah, my only concern is still when you talk about, McPherson and Epps, how much will they improve? Because I think when you look at the level from going from Slay to Bradbury to what's behind you, initially you think the drop-off is significant in terms of level of play. And you expect offenses to attack them, to test them more so than not. But if they had 1 year in Jonathan Gannon's system, and now they're coming back a year older, a year wider, they've got some great veterans to teach them the little tricks of the game, how to cheat, what to look for, how to read offenses better, how to read the guy you're lining up across from a lot better, his foot placement. Does he lean to the inside when he's going to run a slant route? Does he, how does his body shift when he explodes off the line of scrimmage to give you that edge? You've got hungry guys, you've got guys who can teach these young guys. You got a great nucleus here, man, to do some great things.
No doubt.
And so, I hope it all comes together. I look at it like this right now. As we look at it, it's the perfect storm. You've improved your offense with just the addition of A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith, he's going to get his. If the good young stable of running backs, the key is, can you keep them healthy?
Yeah.
The running backs. Your defense, with the addition of one player today, has improved tremendously on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
It's the perfect storm and perfect complement of players to be one of the upper echelon. Now, if the Eagles run an AFC, you would say, okay, they can compete because the AFC is loaded. When you look at the talent across the AFC, that entire AFC West, Baltimore, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, all these teams, you got across the board. In the NFC, the margin slims down a lot. We're talking Tampa Bay, Rams, Green Bay, and then everybody else.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I mean, that's the fascinating thing about this, Derek. It's not, the conference is nowhere near as deep. I mean, you nailed it. Cowboys, Eagles, Green Bay, Tampa, Rams,
maybe Saints,
maybe Niners. I don't know what that's going to look like with the quarterback situation, but yeah, I mean, you're in that mix in a strong way.
Oh, you know what? How do you forget about the Niners? I think even if Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback, which I do believe Jimmy Garoppolo is going to come back, I don't think they're ready to trust a young kid yet.
Mm-hmm.
The 49ers, there's a prime example of a team where your defense is going to keep you in games and win games for you more so than the offense. They have offensive firepower, don't get me wrong. But San Francisco defense, personnel-wise, is one of the nastiest defenses in the league, man. They've got a lot of first-round picks in that defense, and they got guys that can flat-out ball in their defense. I don't know how we overlook San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I agree.
I think San Francisco, even if Jimmy Garoppolo comes back, if they can iron out the issues financially with Deebo Samuels, that's one of the teams you have to really consider as a Super Bowl candidate for the NFC.
Yeah, no, look, fair enough. All right, let me do the same exercise with you here on the offensive side. So, Hurts, Sanders, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Goddard, Mailata, Dickerson, Kelsey, possibly Sayamalo. We could debate right guard, Lane Johnson. Now, listen to the depth here. Minshew behind Hurts, Scott Gainwell at running back, Pascal, Rager, Ward, among others. We could, I'm leaving out Quez Watkins, of course. I should have mentioned him. Left tackle Dillard, left guard Opeda, but you could plug in a lot of different guys, potentially there. Juergens behind Kelsey.
Yep.
Driscoll. Who else am I missing here? Anderson, who they like, Toth.
Right,
I mean, there's again, you're in the trenches at least, some pretty good depth there, which is, we know, Gunner, in this sport, it's such an attrition thing that guys are going to go down. You have capable backups now where you don't fall off a cliff with this team.
No, and those guys got a lot of experience being interchangeable parts last season when they had injuries along the offensive line. And once they adapted and went almost exclusively to the running game, that running game never missed a beat. It wasn't by accident. This team was the number one running team in the National Football League once they cranked it up against Detroit and kept that ground game machine rolling. So even if a frontliner falls off, if you have to move Sayamalu over the center if Kelsey gets hurt, if you have to put in Once they get the kid Juergens up to speed, Driscoll can play right guard. Driscoll can play right tackle or left tackle. If they keep Dillard, you can move Mailata to the right side. It's not his natural side, but you can move Mailata to the right side if Lane gets hurt and put Dillard on the left side based on what we saw him play the second half of the season. That's why I say across the board, when you look at this Eagles team, comparing this team to every other team in the NFC, I think they are comparable on paper to every other team in the NFC. The difference is quarterback play. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the big difference. And you look at the weapons the Rams have to throw to.
Yeah.
You look at the weapons Brady has to throw to. They both have stout running games. Those two teams have more power running games. They like to outmuscle you and freight train you. The Eagles' running game is more finesse than it is power.
Mm-hmm.
They love that zone. And I'm not talking about the offensive line because the offensive line mauls people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about in terms of the backs. The backs are more finesse backs, more so than the power backs that the Rams and Tampa Bay has. Even Green Bay has that big kid, A.J. Dillon,
mm-hmm.
who's 250 pounds to offset Aaron Jones, for a change of pace. But what the Eagles did when Sanders went down, somebody else steps up.
Right.
One man's injury is another man's opportunity. And, man, did they take full advantage of that last year.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Let the chips fall where they may in the NFC, and let's see what happens. I think we're going to be surprised by a number of teams. I think we can see some things. I think we can see a team or two that we think is on the upside in the NFC fall, and a team we're not talking about, whether it's the Eagles or another team, a team we're not expecting a lot from to rise from the ashes and shock some people.
Happens every year. What's funny? We've for the large majority of the show today, we've talked Eagles and the Bradbury move and kind of where they're at. And one of the things we discussed was who's the heat more on, basically Jalen Hurts or Jonathan Gannon. You know what's funny in the entire discussion? We haven't even brought up Nick Sirianni. How often do you have these kind of discussions about expectation and a head coach's name isn't brought? Isn't that strange?
And that's something. You're right. We've been on for over an hour and a half. We haven't mentioned Nick Sirianni once.
Yeah.
In terms of the pressure being on him, but it starts at the top. Let's face it. It starts with the head coach. The head coach is the puppet master. He's got to get all the pieces moving in place. He's got to be in Jonathan Gannon's ear. What the heck are you doing over here? Hey, you got to fix this now. He's got the pressure on him. When and where do you put in certain pieces? When do I move A.J. Brown from the outside to the slot? When do I bring in Zach Pascal, who can play either positions? How do I keep moving? How do I move Devontae Smith around to free him up? Who am I using on the jet sweep? Who's the best option on the jet sweep? So on and so forth. But, yeah, it's funny. We haven't even mentioned Nick Sirianni in terms of the pressures that's on top of him to get this thing done.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's a lot of things you liked about last year. His adaptability certainly leaps out as one of them. The fact that the players bought in, Derek, which is a big deal. It's not an X and O thing, but the whole tree and planting a tree and whatever. Absolutely. They got behind him for that stuff. So that's a big deal. That just tells you these. All right, we'll and the veterans too. Kelsey, the older guys got behind him with that stuff. So that's a big deal too. But now there's also pressure on him. So that part of it is going to be really, really interesting to see what ends up happening there for sure.
Be optimistic, be enthusiastic,
Amen.
But be objective as well. That's the key thing. Be objective, be patient. And again, I can't emphasize it enough. From May to August, you watch, you look, you listen. It means nothing until you hit the ground in September. Absolutely nothing. Yeah. I've seen so many players have these fantastic camps. All of a sudden, they're in a witness protection program throughout the season. Players you don't even think about, who just go unnoticed in training camps, all of a sudden come from out of nowhere. And you're like, where did this kid come from?
Right.
Same thing with winning and losing in the preseason. Go 0-4 in the preseason, 0-3 now with the new way they're doing things, and all of a sudden, you win a division, get in the playoffs. Go undefeated preseason, you can't get out of the basement in your division. So that's why I say, enjoy this moment, be enthusiastic about it, but also proceed with caution and keep your eyes and ears open, and let's see what happens.
All right, fair enough. All right, now Gunner, you got it. You got to roll. You're headed to Brian Dawkins golf tournament, so you go have fun. Line up some guests for us for the next couple of days. That'd be fun. You and Barrett. I'm going to put you to work.
Hey, I'm glad you said that. I already got Hollis Thomas lined up.
Okay.
Takeo Spikes lined up. Corey Simon.
You're a machine.
I told you, man. I don't mess around.
All right.
I got them all lined. Oh, Jason Avant. Don't worry. I got Jason Avant.
All right. I like it.
I won't let you down, Rob.
All right. And try and keep Barrett under control. Good luck with that. But it'll be fun. And get that voice better, man. Enjoy it.
Tell you what, though, my wife told me this morning, what'd you say on Advil, Cohen, and sinus? Yeah. She told me, would you please take Advil, Cohen, and sinus? Me being me, I got, my laptop was on the blink. I'm trying to fix this. I'm doing 20 different things I forget. So I struggled through the first part of the show. About an hour ago, she gave me 2 of these capsules that look like ostrich eggs.
Yep.
Advil, Cohen, and sinus. All of a sudden, my voice is starting to get better. I'm
You're
like,
good. Yeah, you're good to go. Well, listen, go enjoy yourself. A big assist to Mrs. Gunn. Go enjoy yourself, and we appreciate it, Gunner. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12, all right?
All right, brother, have a good rest of the show.
All right, my man. Quick timeout. We come back. The king himself. We are in the midst of royalty. Howard Eskin will be joining us from the NovaCare Complex. Don't go anywhere. Sports Take. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, JAKIB Sports Network.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, up, up.
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Rob Ellis, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. My distinct pleasure to be joined by our next guest, and he's coming to us live. Look at and the hair is perfect. He's got the shades on from the NovaCare Complex. Looking good on this beautiful May day. Howard Eskin, the one and only. What's happening, genius?
Well, it's a little warm out here, Rob, but I figured I'd give you a little ambiance of the Eagles with the NovaCare complex in the background. The shades are just a nice touch because, although we had sun on the day they predicted rain, we have sun on the day now they're predicting sun. So it's a little warm out here.
Your weather beefs. We're going to get into your weather beefs in a minute. But what do we got? Oakley's? What's going on with the shades? What do we
The prescription. They're actually prescription. They're Oakley prescriptions. Okay. And I know you can't see it on the screen. I guess somewhere in one of the corners here it says King. There's an inscription that says King. I forget which. Let me see which. It's on my left eye. It's on this one here.
You are so out of control, man. It is unbelievable. But look, Howard, you're there today, and the Bradbury news comes down a few hours ago, whatever it was, and just the latest in just a number of aggressive moves this offseason. I think a lot of Eagles fans went in. I mentioned this earlier, optimistic about this offseason. But I think they've gone above and beyond. Did you know they were going to be quite this aggressive in what they've done?
Yeah, I thought they'd be aggressive. How aggressive? Who would have thought that they would have gotten A.J. Brown? Remember, Tennessee at one point said they didn't want to trade him. Then they realized they couldn't keep him because they weren't going to sign him for that number. So when you look at that really, okay, I assumed they were going to get a defensive lineman. And if they had to move up a little bit, I know they were, and everybody talks to all the teams, so it's not rocket science here. It's not earth-shattering news that they were talking to every team, and they knew that Baltimore, Jordan Davis only had 3 trips. So it was Baltimore, Dallas, and the Eagles. So they thought there was a pretty good chance that Baltimore was going to take him. So moving up there was not a surprise. A.J. Brown was the only surprise, but to be aggressive, I think Howie's always tried to be aggressive. Now, it hasn't always worked, but he had enough draft picks to be able to do it. He's got draft picks next year in case he feels he needs a quarterback. So that takes it down the line. But now, once Bradbury, who knew that Bradbury was going to become available? This is what fans don't understand. Teams look at rosters, and they look at the other team's roster, and they say, they're not going to keep this guy, and they're not going to keep this guy. And you know what? He could probably play for us, but we won't have to pay him as much as that team was paying him. So I'm not surprised at this, but we didn't know that Bradbury would be available. So, yeah, and they were just waiting until he agreed on the number that they wanted to pay him. And that's what it comes down to when a guy's out there. So he signs a 1-year contract. If he's good enough, he'll get a multi-year. But it's about this year. Are they a better team? Yes. Because he was aggressive? Yes. Are they good enough to go to the Super Bowl? I don't think they're there yet. And it still comes down to one question, the quarterback. Can the quarterback take the next step? That's what it really comes down to.
No doubt. But Howard, just to stay on the defense for a second, then we'll jump over to the quarterback. I mean, all of a sudden now a team that couldn't get after the quarterback well enough adds a Hassan Reddick, adds a Jordan Davis, gets Brandon Graham back. We were really always been concerned about the linebackers. You got Nakobe Dean, you got Kazir White added to that mix. And then you go to the secondary with Bradbury now. I mean, I just see I see much better options for Jonathan Gannon in terms of having the ability to maybe be a little bit more aggressive or just to, change things up from a schematic standpoint.
Well, I think people were overly critical of Jonathan Gannon last year, just like they were at the beginning of the year. Some of the dopes on WIP. I work with some of those.
Of course,
dopes.
Not myself incled or you. Yes,
No, neither one of us.
Yeah.
I wanted to fire Nick Sirianni after 5 games. Idiots. He's got to get to know his team. The players got to get to know him. And the toughest part of their schedule was the first 5 or 6 games of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. It was ridiculous. And Jonathan Gannon had to get to know his defense, had to get to know his players. And, he had a couple of players that didn't play at the level that people expected and the coaches expected. Fletcher Cox was one of them. Hargrave played well, and then he kind of tailed off a little bit. Josh Sweat, when you look at the numbers at the end of the year, he says, well, that's fine. But there was games that because it wasn't quite as good as he needed to be, Derek Barnett. So he had to get to know his players. But, yeah, Jonathan Gannon, I think, is a very good coach. He's now got more pieces. His defensive line should be better. His defense, I got to say, will be better. So with all those things considered, they're going to be a better team. As much as offense is the biggest part of the game, the reality is it's pretty simple. You've got to stop the other team, especially when it comes down to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no question. And that was certainly an issue last year. But Howard, you mentioned it. You go to the other side of the ball and they get him AJ Green, to go with Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, a pretty good running attack, arguably the best offensive line in football. What's your feel right now? We sit here, we're a few months away from this thing getting real here, but what's your sense with Jalen Hurts as we go into this season?
I think he's got to take another step. I don't know. And I'm being honest. I don't know. He's got to make better decisions. He's got to make quicker decisions. He's got to go through his progressions better. He's got to run less. They've got the weapons. And people said, oh, he's got to get the weapons. Well, okay. So he's got two really good receivers right now. So we'll see. But he's got to take the step to the next level. Otherwise, this team is not a Super Bowl team. And they can't even think about the Super Bowl. But he's got to be better. I mean, he says all the right things. He bonds with his teammates. He works hard. But it still comes down to the talent on the field and making the right decisions.
How much of an advantage is it that he's now been with Sirianni for 2 years? I mean, in college, he transferred. He had different offensive coordinators. There was a lot going on. His first year, it was Doug. He hasn't had that kind of continuity. How big is that piece of it?
Well, that's got to be important because his coordinator's the same. His quarterback coach is the same. His head coach is the same. So now he's got no excuses. So I don't want to hear, well, I've been with different coaches and I've only had 1 year, so I'm really not a 3-year player. He's a 3-year player. The first year he still learned, still played a little bit. So I don't want to hear about last year being his first full year. He's got to take the next step, but the coaches being there from year to year obviously will help him a little bit.
All right, let's jump around a little bit, man. Sixers, and we saw them bow out, in really embarrassing fashion, for sure, last week. And players admitting as much. It wasn't even just you and I saying it on the radio or here. They said we didn't have the heart that was necessary to win this thing. Where do they go from here, Howard, with this bunch?
They might take a trip somewhere and go on vacation because I think next year they're in no better. And I don't know how they can be in better shape next year. They're not in better shape. Despite what that fraud of a president, Daryl Morey, said, they're not close to a championship. They don't have flexibility. What flexibility? I mean, can somebody help me here? They can't trade a first-round pick until 2029. All right, so that's out to trade Tobias Harris. What do they have on the team to trade to get better? All right, so let me go to Tobias Harris. The only reason you want to trade him is to get a free agent. So now, how are you going to do that if you can't trade Tobias Harris and open up some money? All right, so that's number one. Number two, what players do they have that are trade chips? Maxey, Embiid? Well, they're not going to trade Maxey. I wouldn't be opposed to trading Embiid. Again, it's got to be for the right deal, and it's got to be somebody. Teams have, our team's close enough to take him. I don't think you will win a championship with Joel Embiid. Number one, he's not a leader. Number two, he can't carry a team. And he's a really, really good player. Don't misconstrue or confuse what I'm saying. He's a really good player. But Jokic carried a team that lost their second and third best players, and they still are 14 games over 500. The Sixers they still have the same head coach, which I think the players are starting to bail out on him. James Harden, I haven't even mentioned him yet. He is not the same player. That was a bad trade. I know they had to get rid of Ben Simmons, but you didn't have to trade with New Jersey. But Morey had such a love affair. Anything else, the Sacramento deal probably could have happened. I'd rather go into the future with Halliburton and Buddy Hield coming off the bench because Morey traded his whole bench. He traded picks and now doesn't give him flexibility. I don't know where they're no better next year, I think, than this year. But they're going to tell you that because they want their season ticket holders to renew the tickets, although they already started billing those people. So it's just, all this nonsense that Morey puts out there that Brian Windhurst, who I know is a pretty good reporter, but he gets fed by Daryl Morey. Oh, he's going to try. The word is try to be really aggressive this offseason. He can try, but I don't know what he can do. I mean, Don't give people false hope because they already had false hope this year. While they were still playing, they weren't even close to the same teams in the playoffs. Miami or Boston or the other side in the West. And in their conference, Boston, Miami,
Milwaukee.
will still be better. I don't know if other teams might take a step up. Atlanta had a bad year. I can't figure them out. Or and maybe a 5 or 6 seed next year. It's just I don't know where they go. They have the wrong president who acts as the general manager. They have the wrong coach, and they don't have players. They don't have players that are winners. Is there any leader? There's no leader. There's nobody on that team that can carry a team. And that's where I think Embiid fails. And I'm tired of his whining and woe is me. And yeah, I really felt a lot of pain. I don't want to hear that. Just go out there and play. I don't want to hear that. Yeah, I wish I had Jimmy Butler on that. I wish we didn't lose him. Don't say that right after the game when the other players in there are fighting with you. They fought with you to play the game. You might say it a month or so down the line, but the Sixers have made a lot of mistakes. The process was a joke, was a farce, and all those morons and nitwits that were drinking the Kool-Aid got what they deserved. Nothing. They got 1 first-round pick, and he only dropped the 3 because he was hurt all the time. And who's to say Embiid stays healthy all the year? What first-round picks did they make with all the first? Nerlens Noel, stiff. Michael Carter-Williams, stiff. Jahlil Okafor, stiff. Dario Saric, who people love, stiff. I mean, it's stiff.
Markelle Fultz.
Markelle Fultz. It's just you go right down the line. It's a joke.
Well, Howard,
Ben Simmons was a fraud too.
Right. Well, here's the ironic part, right? They went through the process because they couldn't get out of the second round. They didn't want to be in that perennial, just good enough to get in the playoffs and get bounced. And guess what? This group hasn't gotten out of the second round. It's unbelievable.
That's what they are. But wait a minute. You should relax because Glenn Rivers, there's only one doc in Philadelphia, and that's Julius Erving. And he didn't, Rivers has not earned that name. Yeah. Glenn Rivers said after they lost on Thursday night, I've done a terrific job. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I'm glad you think so.
And you're the one who asked them the question pointedly. And I'll give you props, Howard. First of all, you always show up, number one. Number two, you never shy away from the tough questions. I will tell you that. You've battled Glenn quite a bit since he's been here. Give me a percentage on Glenn being back as the Sixers coach next year. Is this thing a stone cold lock?
No, I think it's 95%. And here's the reason I say that. Everybody assumes they throw the Lakers out there. His agent is putting the Lakers out there because he wants people to want Glenn Rivers as their coach. You have to be brain dead. With what happened here in Philadelphia, you got to be delusional to hire him as a head coach. Why would the Lakers? First of all, he would only want to go there because he just extends another extension of coaching. He probably got 2 or 3 years. He's only got. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going during the season next year if things don't go well. But right. Why would the Lakers hire him? Why would anybody hire him? I don't. And the Lakers aren't going to win. I don't understand why they would hire him. Yeah. They can get other coaches. Why would they hire him? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't get it either. And it's like if people aren't aware of what this guy's done since he won it in Boston, that was 2008. I mean, we're talking about 14
2 decades ago.
Yeah.
With 4 Hall of Famers. 2 decades ago. Yeah. 2 decades. Yeah. And the reason he's won all these games is because he's coached so long. Do you know in 23 years of coaching, now the only guy there is Spoelstra, because I think Spoelstra's been with Miami for like 25 or 26 years.
Right.
He's Glenn Rivers, with all the jobs he's had, has only been out of work 5 days. He always sets up his next job. He beats the posse to get to the next job. And that's what happens. Think about that. Only 5 days out of work in all those years with multiple jobs. They ran, and the thing is, they ran him out of the Clippers because the players got tired of him. Why would the Lakers in the same city, because they know the situation, hire him? I think Sixers fans are stuck with him. Now, just think of this. 2 of the guys on the Sixers staff at one point, one is the coach of Boston, right, and one is the coach of Phoenix, who is the coach of the year.
Monty Williams.
Monty Williams. Yep. So it's pretty sad, but I think he's back to start the season. I'll give it 95%. I'll always give that 5% because Daryl Morey almost never tells us the truth anyway. When he said yes, he said yes. Okay, good. Knock yourself out.
Last one on the Sixers. I do want to hit you with the Phillies, and I want to also let people know about the Eagles Autism Challenge, the bike ride, which you take part in as well. But Harden, to me, looks like a guy who's cooked, and Daryl Morey has this obsession with him where I don't think he can look at it objectively. What's your sense of where that thing goes? Are they going to give him a long-term extension, Harden?
I wouldn't be shocked because they tampered, but everybody tampers, and nobody complained because the Nets were glad to get rid of him. So I'm sure he told him, hey, listen, I'll take care of you with the extension. If they give him a max contract as an extension, Daryl Morey ought to go directly to jail. He should be locked up. He should be locked up. Should be locked up for stealing money as the president right now. He ought to go out in handcuffs. That ought to be a promotion for stealing money. I just can't believe it. But what I could see happening. All right, James, listen, I'll give you 3 years, 35 a year. He's due to make 47 next year, and that's his decision, which he obviously is not going to give out. He'll opt in at the worst. So I'll give him 3 years at 35. I don't want him for 3 years at $35 million a year. Nope. Why do you want him for 3 years at $35 million? I think he's going to give him some kind of extension. But here's the sad part. He's here next year for at least $47 million. He's here next year, one way or the other. He's here next year.
He is a shell of himself. Howard, I wouldn't give him a dime this year. I would not give him a dime.
Wait a minute. Embiid said, don't expect the same player you saw in Houston. He's now a facilitator, and Daryl Morey didn't agree with that. Well, you didn't trade for a facilitator. You can get anybody off the street to be a facilitator. You can get guys that are undrafted players to be facilitators. That's not what you got him for. Yeah, they got problems with James Harden. He's done. He's done. And you know what? He's never won. He's never won. The last time Tim Lager, and I'm trying to remember exactly what he said something. The last time Harden won a 7th game in the playoffs was 2015. It was something about the end of a playoff series. It was 2015, and he didn't play most of the fourth quarter with Houston. So it's something that just shows you that he's just not a winner. He's not a winner. It's that simple. He's not a winner.
And they lack that. They lack toughness in a big way. When the going gets tough, they all check out. That is a major issue with this team. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Howard.
Absolutely.
Phillies. Trying to figure them out, man. They had the West Coast swing where they play well. They score some runs. They come back home last night, and it's hibernation time again. What do we have with this team?
Well, just you got to look at the deeper than the results. They were lucky to win 3 out of 4. Lucky. Every game, I think the bullpen imploded. Every game. Yep. I think every game the bullpen imploded. So they were lucky in that regard. Okay, they had some offense. Bryce Harper didn't play the first game of the homestand. I'm not sure whether he's going to play the second game because he's hurt. That's an issue. I don't think he'll play the outfield all year. I don't think you're going to see him in the outfield all year. I think he's going to have some kind of surgery. But Ohtani had what people are telling me is a similar injury. He hit the whole year, and then he had surgery at the end of the year. So he'd be available early next season. So Schwarber can't hit with 2 strikes. Let's make that clear. He can't hit with 2 strikes. Strikes out 4 times in the first game against the Padres. And he can't play defense. He's a nice player, but he's not a nice player to play every day. That's the difference. And look at Didi Gregorius, when he plays, he's cooked. Man. And Stott obviously is not ready yet. And the bottom of their lineup in that game against the Padres, you had Stott and Quinn hitting like 130 and 150. It's brutal. Yeah. And JT Realmuto, that was a bad contract. Now he's a nice player, and he's a good catcher. But he's a 260 hitter, which he's not hitting 260 now. And he's probably 20 home runs. Yep. I don't know that you give him. They didn't have to give him 5 years. They made a mistake there too. So there's a lot of challenges here with this with the Phillies team.
If you had to look at Morey, with Girardi or Rivers, who's been more of a bust or a disappointment to you in their time here?
Well, I would say they both have been a disappointment. I kind of probably have to say Rivers more so, because although he said, "What did people expect?" That's another thing he said. What did they expect when I came here?
Yeah, give me a break.
2 years before he got here, they won 51. 3 years before he got here, they won 52. I mean, spare me, will you? So he's a disappointment, but Girardi's a disappointment. I don't think any of them. Well, you know what? I don't think Girardi will be here next year. It looks like he's going to make it through the year here, but I don't think for sure he's going to be here next year. It's not Dave Dombrowski's guy. You know, I still can't get the name Jim Leland out of my mind. I know he's 77, but Dombrowski loves him. He hired him twice as manager. Hired him twice. So to take over, if there's a change this year, I wouldn't be surprised that they bring Leland in just to get these guys. I don't know what you can do with a baseball player, but they've got to be better. And there's inconsistencies in the offense. They're not going to score 9 and 10 runs like all these fans thought they would. But I don't even know if they're playing good. Start okay.
Yeah.
And the offense is still too inconsistent.
All right. This is what I love about you. So, you know, you're not afraid to ask the tough questions at the press conferences. You're always there, but you're always in a beef with someone. And I didn't think when I was scrolling through social media the other day, you'd be in a beef with Cecily Tynan of ABC, of Channel 6. What is happening here where you're battling with Cecily Tynan?
Okay. I'm out playing in a charity golf tournament. And we're all prepared to come off the golf course. We're just waiting for the lightning and the heavy rain.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the sun pops out. So I had to stop. I don't even know what hole I was on. I said, what the hell is going on around here? So I just wrote a tweet that the weather people are clueless. And they must have got their meteorology degree at Target. Then people said, well, it wasn't Target, it was Walmart. And it wasn't Walmart, it was CVS. And it wasn't CVS. And they just go down the list of stores. So she takes offense to it. That's the reason I got in a beef with her. Because they are they create these dramatics. Schools were closed. Schools were called out early. Businesses, restaurants, I know some of them closed at night because they said, nobody's coming out anyway. So businesses lost money. Schools had to cancel either a full day or part of a day. And she says she's perplexed in her tweet. I'm perplexed why people are so upset about the forecast. Well, what's the difference between a warning, a watch, and a warning? That's not the point. You dramatized it. You made it pretty clear that by 2 or 3 o'clock, we were going to get heavy rain, lightning, thunderstorms and lightning, and possible tornadoes. That's your forecast. Own it, baby. Own it. Stop with all this nonsense. Then she goes back and forth, and then she puts out. She's really cute with her tweet. She says, "Well, the good thing is, I got my kids played 2 soccer games, and my daughter played a lacrosse game." And I'm trying to think. Wait a minute, how did that happen? They had to call those off earlier in the day. How did that happen? And here was the topper. And she really piles on and tries to create this sympathy thing. She piles on, she says, and it was great that their 90-year-old grandmother in failing health got to see them.
Oh, my
Number
God.
one, even if she wasn't in failing health, why would you bring a 90-year-old out when the forecast calls for severe weather? What are you telling people? I don't believe any of that she said. I don't believe it. And I kind of got an inkling from a couple of people that those games were those games never happened. I'm getting excited here. Those games never happened. So, but I feel good for the 90-year-old grandmother in failing health. What was she watching? Old videos of them?
Oh, my God.
Why would you bring a 90-year-old grandmother in failing health out the games anyway? But hey, listen, here's the bottom line. She takes umbrage to this, and she's not alone. They got to take. Hey, listen, I was wrong. Just say I was wrong. It's not. And then people say, "Well, you're wrong with the things you say on the air." Minor opinions. I don't cost people money. I don't close schools. I wish I had that power. I can't do that. But weather people can. I'll never forget, this was years ago, and she was on Channel 6. All the weather people predicted 8 to 10 inches of snow. So I went on what then was Periscope. Now Twitter goes live. And I'm driving around Delaware County, and I'm going live. And on people. I'm looking for the snow for you. I'm telling you, I'm not the Channel 6 fan, but I'm out there looking for snow. You know, maybe I'll find it. I had 38,000 views in a quarter hour. I mean, it's because people were laughing. They were laughing. I mean, you are wrong sometimes. Suck it up. It's part of the job. That's all. You know, I don't have personally anything against her. It's weather people, but she chimed in. Okay, baby, you're chiming in. I'm chiming in too. Don't challenge me with that kind of nonsense.
Oh my God, that was an epic rant right there, man. That was unbelievable. All right, last one.
Like, I can't wait for the next. Hey, listen, she predicted sunshine today. Hey, Cecily, congratulations.
All right, last one. I know how much you do from a charitable standpoint. You give a lot of your time.
Yeah, listen, nothing as this is personal. Okay, so just everybody got to relax here.
Cecily's coming on next. She's going to debate you. We'll deal with that. No, but Saturday you got a biggie coming up Saturday, Howard, because I know I'm in for you at WIP at 8:00, and we'll be chatting then as well. But you got the Eagles Autism Bike Ride Challenge coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, and you know the important part is the bike ride. I got my bike ready. I'm ready to roll. But the most important thing is to raise money for autism research. I have family members on the spectrum, and I met a lot of families that have kids on the spectrum. And it's really, I learned a lot about it, and I realized how important it is. And every year I go to the wall. Mike Trout was great to me recently. Bryce Harper's been good to me. Mike Trout, I sent him a text, and he sent me a game used bat. I just got $5,500 for a donation. Awesome. He sent me spikes and batting gloves, which I have up for auction now for the charity. And then I get people that just donate. I've had players, I've had coaches, I've had a lot of people. Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace, donated $2,408 the last year he was alive for his 2 numbers in the NBA. Mike Trout always donated $2,700, but now I asked him for a bat because I knew it would get more. So there's people out there, but the important thing, the bike ride's great, and the people out there, it's a ride, it's a 5K walk and run, but the most important thing is to create awareness and thus raise money for autism research. And the Eagles have taken this on. They have a separate department. None of the money raised goes to those salaries. The separate department that does all those things and puts it all together. And I just try to help. That's what I try to do with all the nonsense that people get on me for. You know, by the way, some guy got on me. You said the Phillies were going to trade for Jose, or was going to get Jose Bautista. Well, that was what I was told, and they were working on it. I didn't say that. I said they're working on a deal with Don Brown back then. But in the end, I was right, because the Phillies did have Jose Bautista for a little while. So I was right. So, you know, I'm right. But
there you go. Take that, Cecily. Yeah, there you go. Howard, listen, man, you go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com and that's how you can donate. And yeah, obviously you'll be updating stuff on your Twitter as well. But this has been a blast, man. I appreciate you hopping on with me today. And
Saturday morning, I'm gonna try to be on the phone while I'm doing I give updates while I'm on the ride.
We do it every year. You and I have done it the last 3-4 years. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'll do that, and I'll leave you with this as far as meteorology. I was a meteorologist for 1 week at Channel 3 when they gave everybody vacation. They asked me to do it. I just stay at the desk. I said, "No, I'm going." That week we had a blizzard, one of the worst blizzards in the history of Philadelphia. We had an ice storm which shut down the city 2 days later, and the National Weather Service called Channel 3 and said, "You know what? He did a great job." It does. You don't have to know. It's not rocket science. All right. It's sunny out, by the way. It's sunny out right now.
There you go.
That's my
all
forecast.
right. Hey, you are the man genius, and we always appreciate it. All right, brother. Thank you.
All right, Rob. A pleasure. Take care.
Howard, be good, man. I'll talk to you soon. All right. That was wow. Unbelievable. All right, we're going to step aside. We keep it rolling. Howard's the best. We keep it rolling. Dan Klecko is going to join us when we come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue with the Eagles discussion with Dan, who played for the Birds, played for the Pats, played for the Colts, won 3 rings in the process. So don't go anywhere. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, up, up.
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Rob Ellis with you on this Wednesday. Pretty significant day when you think about it. What the Eagles were able to do here, signing James Bradberry and adding to the list of what's been a very aggressive and impressive offseason. That's for sure. All right, Xander, we got Danny up there. We got Danny Boy. There he is. Dan Klecko, my man, my guy. So Dan and I, for folks who don't know, we do the post-game show together on WIP and the Eagles' fifth quarter. What's happening, my brother?
Hey, I'm good. There's nothing better than checking in a little early and hearing Howard honk up how great he is. I don't think there's anything better. I mean, if I was going to expect anything less from him, I would have fell off my chair.
I need you to just rip weather people too. Just fall right in line.
I can't. The weather people, I owe them because of last year. I mean, my whole neighborhood got destroyed by a hurricane or a tornado, and they probably saved 20 or 30 people's lives by telling them to get in the basement. So I love the weather people. I don't care. They could do no wrong in my eyes now.
Look, and my whole thing is, like, it's an inexact science. You're doing the best you can with reading the models. Right. And it's like, this is what it looks like. This is what it probably is going to be, but it's not, it's not the end all be all, man. That's all. It's
we can still rip them. It's all right.
That's what we do. What do we do better than ripping people? But, for folks who may not know, what a career Dan had. I mean, look, he's a very modest guy, so he's never one who's going to be telling you, and talking about it. But when you consider this guy was the Big East Defensive Player of the Year out of Temple, he ends up getting drafted by the Patriots. He wins 3 rings. He catches touchdown passes from Brady and Peyton Manning, comes here to the Eagles, and at one point gets converted from defense to offense and ends up, just having an all-around really good career. And just, Dan, seriously, man. I mean, when you look back now, you've had some time to sort of reflect and take it in. How do you look back at your playing days and kind of how everything went for you?
Yeah, it was, I'll tell you what, Rob, it was something I never expected because, from the day I started high school football up in Central Jersey, I was always told, you'll never make it. You're too small. The big schools are scared off by how small you are. So, like you said, to me, the Big East Player of the Year, and that's coming from a conference that had the national champion, had Virginia Tech, had Boston College. At the time, the Big East was a really good conference. That meant a lot. And, and then to get drafted by the Patriots and at the time, they weren't really the Patriots yet. They were, they had won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, missed the playoffs. and Tom Brady was kind of still finding what he was. So to kind of be there as a dynasty took off and became really what the Patriots were, and the Patriot way was kind of born while I was there, it was really neat. And then to get a chance to go play with, probably the second best quarterback of the generation in Peyton Manning, maybe of all time, and to be part of his only ring with the Colts. I mean, it was like kind of like a Forrest Gump type tale, I don't know how much it was because of me, probably not at all, but to just say I was, one of the pieces that was able to do those couple of things, and to come to get here, play here, and play for Andy, play with Donovan, play with that, for Coach Johnson. It was pretty awesome. And, the fact that I did get to come home and play for a couple of years, that meant more than anything. I mean, I remember sitting with Andy at the Maxwell Awards my senior year, and he was saying he was going to draft me. And when he didn't, I was mad because, of course, I didn't want to leave, right? People get pissed I play for the Patriots. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay right here, continue playing it, at the link. And it didn't work out. It was cool. I got to go play there. But, I never wanted to leave here. This was home to me. And, it was awesome to come home and play a couple of years here, too.
No, it's very cool. Dan makes his home here now as well. But I got to ask him, I'm fascinated with the early days because you were there for the early days of Brady. Did you have an idea? I guess my question is not necessarily, you're not looking to a crystal ball, but did you see traits in him that said to you, this dude's different? I mean, and you played with some unbelievable talent in your life, but was he just cut sort of differently?
He was. And, again, like I got there, I think it was his fourth season, his third year starting.
Mm-hmm.
So he was still in the background a little bit. I mean, he took a backseat to Willie McGinnis, to Ty Law, to Teddy Bruschi, Mike Vrabel, Richard Seymour. Those were the leaders, right? Those were the guys that Tom learned from. But in practice, you could just see that edge to him. We'd be sitting around eating lunch, BS and having fun, watching a little bit of TV, taking our 20-minute break, and he'd walk in, grab a cup of grapes, make fun of us, and say, "All right, I'm going to watch more film. You guys have fun sitting here eating." You knew he was always putting in more work than you, no matter what. And you were just kind of like, now obviously I never thought he'd become what he is now. I mean, to me, he's the greatest football player to ever play the game. But sitting in that room, you thought he would be a great quarterback, right? You thought he'd be a great leader and looked at upon that way. But I don't think any of us would have thought he'd still be playing. I mean, oh my God. And the fact that he'd still be playing at this level. I mean, last year, I don't think you can name me three quarterbacks that play better than him. I mean, maybe Josh Allen, maybe Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I don't think Aaron Rodgers should have won the MVP for sure. It's hard pressed to find many guys that are playing better than him right now.
Dan, he came out, what, 4 or 5 years before you did in college,
4,
right?
I think it was 4 years. Yeah. It's what he's done to prolong his career. Now, again, the game is different, right? It is. He doesn't take as many hits, but again, he did play in a time when you could hit the quarterback, when you could hit receivers. And he was still doing the same things, back in the early part of the 2000s, he was very much the same player. Now, obviously he's become so much smarter and he realizes so much more about the game now. But, just the fact that he is taking care of his body, he's taking care of his mind, the fact that he still wants to do this after 22 years is just awesome. And it's a testament to just how much of a professional he is.
No question. All right. So let's look at the Eagles here, Dan, because, when you and I did the post-game show for that beatdown that happened, against the Bucks, we're thinking to ourselves, this team has a lot of work to do, right? You look at the offseason moves thus far. I mean, they get an A.J. Brown. They get a Hassan Reddick. They get a James Bradbury, among others, and not to mention Jordan Davis in the draft and Kobe Dean in the draft. And all of a sudden, this looks like a much more complete team. I didn't see them coming. I didn't see them being this aggressive. What are your thoughts on what they've done so far?
It's funny. You draft for what beats you, right? Like you usually draft within the division, right? But you look around this division, there's nothing that really scares you. So, you draft to go beat Tom Brady. You draft to beat Aaron Rodgers. You draft to beat, Russell Wilson before he left. Those are the things you do. You draft to beat the teams that that you need to get to the Super Bowl. And the way they've addressed this, now you got to give Howie credit, right? He has always made moves, right? He never stands pat. Whether it's worked, whether it hasn't worked, Howie has always been very aggressive and realizes that you have to be moving forward in this league. Now, what they've done in this offseason, I mean, even just today, getting Bradbury, I mean, that right there, going into that Tampa game, you're looking at this thing totally different, right? Getting Reddick, you're looking at the guy that can get after Brady. It's just, that's the things you're starting to see now that they're putting this team together to go beat those high-powered offenses. I think they've done a great job, and I'm excited to see how they put it together on the field.
As a guy who mostly played defense, you look at that side now, you get Brandon Graham back. You have Hassan Reddick, who's been double-digit sacks, for 2 years. And we know what an issue it was getting after the quarterback last year, Dan. We talked about it all the time. I mean, how different is this going to look? And they also have pretty competent linebackers now, which we haven't been able to say in a long time also.
How
much better?
I'm really excited to see Nakobe Dean. I thought that guy was going to be, when I'm watching the national championship game, I watch college football, but I watch it very casually. And when I'm watching them, him in the playoffs and the last, the SEC championship game, I'm like, this kid's going to be a top 10 pick. Like, that's what I thought of him just watching him. So to watch him slide to the third round, now, obviously it gives you pause, what happened there? Everyone talks about his medical. So, there's obviously a little bit of pause there, but if he can be what you saw on the field, man, you just got one of the best linebackers in the draft. You really did. And then Hassan, I mean, obviously, go Temple. That's awesome to see him come home and play. I think it's cool to watch how emotional and excited he is to come home and play. I mean, that's a big deal. I don't think people realize that, everyone wants to play at home. And when you get a chance to come back and play, I mean, he's from the area, you get a chance to come back and play here and play where you played college ball. I think he's going to be a different animal out there. And then, I look at a guy like Fletcher Cox, who did have a down year last year. I look at him and he's got to be energized, right? He gets a new big man next to him. He gets a new pass rusher next to him. They're trying to fortify the linebackers, and they're definitely putting corners out there now where it allows him to get after the passer a little bit more. He's got to be, like I said, catching his second win now. He's got to feel great about that.
No question about it. I look at how would you best utilize Reddick? I know he's kind of a hybrid. He's a linebacker / edge guy. What's the best thing? Everywhere. Okay.
Everywhere. I'd put him somewhere different every play. Think Jamie Collins. Think guys like that. Like I'd bring him up the middle sometimes. Obviously he's gonna major in the edge rushing, but I mean, put him wherever you want. Put him inside. Create a mismatch with the guard. I mean, this is a guy who can play all over the field. I know he's a little smaller, but use that, right? I think you use him pretty much wherever he feels comfortable that game. Let him go.
Where would you fit if I gave you like three choices with Gannon? If I said to you, hey, believe, don't believe, I don't know, I need to see him with some players. Where would you fall into that category?
Let's see him with some players, right? I mean, he's been doing it for, he was the head man or the coordinator for the year. Obviously you saw when he ran up against good quarterbacks and good offenses, he struggled. Now, did he have the horses? I don't know. I mean, you look at their D-line, they had a lot of their payroll dedicated to their D-line, right? So for us to just say, oh, well, they didn't give him the horses, I think that's a little bit of a fallacy. I think he did have the horses. I don't know if he had the most motivated guys, but now he has it, right? Now he has the pieces that he's probably asked for. Let's see what he does. So let's,
all right.
Give him the year.
I got a little surprise for you. All right. Let's bring our boy up. Let's bring him up, Z. Let's bring up our guy, our surprise guest for Danny. Go ahead, Xander. Bring him up. Without further ado. All right, I'll bring him up, I guess. Here he is. Barrett Brooks.
Boy.
Barrett, where you at? I thought you didn't, I was
I'm playing golf right now.
Are you golfing?
Yeah.
I want to be you when I grow up.
No, and look, I'm with my guys.
I don't know if Xander's there. We got to straighten out this picture, man. What do we have going on?
For stateside.
Oh,
stateside vodka.
Dan, he's obsessed with stateside vodka. So you found someone who can hook you up?
Yes. They haven't given me that. I need my cases. They haven't given my cases yet. But I am here with the Delco rep.
Yeah.
Delco.
And,
woohoo!
There you go. Right. Yeah.
Delco with Rob E.
Oh, awesome.
And Dan Klecko.
Go too.
Delco, Dan's a Delco boy from way back.
Oh, that's Delco.
Yes.
Yeah, he's Delco too.
Yes.
What's up, Phil? Well, I just want to check in, make sure you guys is all right. Everything
Hey,
good?
get them straight, man. Yeah, don't hurt anybody out there.
All right, man. I appreciate you guys. All right.
All right, buddy. See you, pal.
Barrett, you're the best, man. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, thanks. I thought I'd give you a little Barrett love. We'd sneak him in.
I know. It was good
He
to
always
see
likes
him.
to say hi, man.
He gets off the golf. That's real nice. Real nice, Barrett.
Yeah, how about that, huh? So
We
yeah,
didn't
we're
want the invite.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah, we didn't want to go. Jump to the other side real quick, Dan, because offensively, you get in AJ Brown, who the beauty of this isn't, hey, I hope he's going to be good. He was great in college. You know what this guy is. He is legit. To couple with Devontae Smith, I just think you had the Devontae who could kill you over the top. AJ's a great catch, run after catch kind of guy. You got a nice compliment there with those two.
You do, and then throw in Goddard too, right? Like you can't forget about him. I mean, again, this is now his first offseason where he is the guy, right? This is where he'll be expected to be the guy. So, I mean, it was funny. As soon as he got traded here, AJ, I texted Vrabel and I said, "My son is pissed. You just traded him away." And I still haven't heard back.
Dan and Vrabel played together. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I still haven't heard back from him on that one. I'm sure he's not real happy.
Yeah.
But you got it. Like you said, you got a proven All-Pro receiver who could now lead that room, right? So, you look at he's going to teach Devontae how to be even more of a pro. Now, I think I look at Devontae and he's a pro-ready guy coming from that Alabama place. So I think he's pretty pro-ready. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how Hurts can handle all this because, we had this argument a lot last year with fans, with within our circles of friends. I thought the kid did pretty good for his expectations, right? He's going to have the games where he messes the bed, and he's going to have the games where, he runs the ball, he looks good, and he gets things going. Now, obviously, the places he needs to work is his accuracy and his reads is, he comes off his reads really quick, and
right.
So let's see what he does. Let's give him another year. I don't think there was anybody worth giving up the farm for this year. I mean, maybe Russell Wilson, but especially in the draft, there was no one worth going to get. So I like that they gave the kid another year. They gave him every weapon in the world, and let's see what he could do.
Well, yeah, and I think it's smart because he didn't overreach for a quarterback, coming out of the draft like teams do all the time. You traded back, so you have the 2 first-rounders for next year. I think it was a very prudent, smart way to go about this thing. When the quarterbacks coming out next year, Dan, are 1,000 times better than this year.
And again, I don't know if he's going to play that. I don't hate the guy, right? I think he has his downfalls, but I think he's going to be a good player in this league. Now, how great? Let's see. Again, you've been given these weapons. Let's see what you could do with them. And you're in your 3rd year. There's no more excuses, right? Go make the plays you got to make and get past the first round of the playoffs. I would think that would be a goal internally for the Eagles to see him progress that way. But the moves they have made have set themselves up very long term by not, like you said, not reaching, not going and doing some crazy Dream Team 2 spin. They've or Dream Team 3 now. They're not doing anything stupid. They're staying within themselves and they're building through the draft, and that's where you see good teams in this league.
I know we're 3 months away, whatever it is, from this thing getting real, and everything's on paper right now. But as you look at what they've done to the roster, are they right there with the Cowboys? Not quite. Have they surpassed? Where are they with the Cowboys, you think?
Look, I mean, I know the Cowboys record-wise looked okay last year, but what the hell were the Cowboys? Like, what was the big deal with the Cowboys, right? I think they're right there with them. I would argue with the moves made in the offseason, they've become better than the Cowboys. Now, again, let's see. Like you said, it's all on paper. None of this is proven until you get out on the field. But, I think they're right there with the Cowboys. I think they're miles better than the Giants, miles better than the Redskins. Let's see. I would think they're the best team in the division right now.
Wow. And I think the NFC is pretty wide. I know the champs are in the NFC and with the Rams, but with what Rodgers lost with the South, other than Tampa,
right?
It's a pretty wide open conference now. It's kind of shifted in a lot of ways.
Everybody ran away from Brady and Stafford.
Yeah,
they did. They all ran away. They went to the AFC, which I think is stupid too, because you got those two animals over there.
How about the West, by the way? The AFC West is nasty.
Good luck. Good
Oof.
luck. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
but
God.
look, I think just talking big picture in the NFL, if the Bills put it together, man, I mean, if they get a couple of defensive pieces, they're going to be really, really hard to stop. But I look at the NFC and I don't see a reason the Eagles can't at least make a push. I don't see it. I mean, they did it last year at the end of the year. Now, I know it was a little bit of fool's gold. The end of the schedule was a little bit, weak. But still, you made the playoffs, right? It was a playoff team. Let's build on that.
Yeah, no question about it. So I want to hit a couple other odds and ends here with you, Dan, when it comes to the game of football. We see Brady still playing, which is insane. When you hung it up, and I don't know how much of it was just injury or it was time or whatever, but did you know it was time, or was it hard for you? You've made a real smooth adjustment, I got to tell you, to life. You're a successful businessman. You do a great job on the radio as well with the post-game stuff, even though you have to put up with me. But how difficult was that transition for you? Because I know a lot of former athletes, it's not as smooth.
It's hard. I mean, it's, and let me make this clear. I did not choose to walk away.
Okay.
The game,
okay.
I think for 90% of us, the game walks away from you, right? You get too old, too expensive. There's guys that can do just the same thing that you do, and they're a fraction of the price. And that's really what happened to me, right? I was just, and you feel it coming, you see it coming, and no matter what, though, it sucks. It's no fun. It was your dream, and now it's over. But again, that's life, right? You have to get on with life. I thought I was going to be the next big radio thing in Philly. Didn't work. That's life. So I went and I sell insurance now. Turns out I'm okay at that. So, I mean, it's, look, you never, kudos to the guys that really plan. And I wish the NFL did a better job of that, of really planning while you're still playing. You think you're going to play forever, no matter what. You think, oh, another team will pick me up. Oh, I'll have this money forever. The truth is, it's, unless you're a top 5 guy on the roster, you got to plan for life after. And, I've just been fortunate in my life to meet some very good people that have hired me to now work for Arthur J. Gallagher, and have now, now given me opportunities to succeed in this career. But, it is very hard when you're done to realize you're not a football player anymore. You now have to be, you have to go do life. I mean, nobody feels bad for you. Nobody cares. Tell the guy that's going to be laying concrete on or putting up a roof when it's 95 degrees on Saturday. They don't feel bad that you're done playing football. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to go figure your life out, and that's okay.
I'm sure you don't miss your body getting beat down or the practice, but do you ever have the pangs every once in a while on a Sunday, or in college football's case, a Saturday, where you every once in a while you're like, damn, kind of missing it today?
Every Sunday, every time that the Fox music comes on, or every time it's the Sunday Night Football. So, I mean, you get goosebumps and go, oh, I remember, I have three boys now, they're 13, 12, and 9. And I'll remember, like, they don't want to hear it, but I'll be like, oh, I remember playing at Mile High, or, oh, I remember playing at Giant Stadium. They're like, yeah, nobody cares, Dad. Yeah. But, like, of course, every time I see a stadium I love playing in, or I see Mike coaching, or I see Tom still playing, I'm like, damn, they're still having the time of their life,
That's awesome. All right. Well, lastly, I always like to bring up your dad, Joe, who was an absolute beast, stud at St. James, at Temple, in the NFL with the sack exchange with the New York Jets, and had just an insane career. But I know he wasn't a guy who really pushed football on you, as you don't with your kids. You let them kind of come to it slowly. And in fact, I don't think he didn't let you play till high school or 8th grade?
Yeah, my little brother was the only one that actually played before high school. There's 3 of us, and my older brother had to wait till high school. I had to wait till high school, and he waited till 8th grade. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and it was it's going to be the same thing with my boys. I let my 13-year-old play this year, just because I could tell he was ready. The way he played lacrosse, the way he was just aggressive. I knew he was at least ready to step on the field, and he did great this year, my Nathan. But my Christian asked if he could play this year. I said, dude, you ain't ready. You're not ready. I'm not going to let you play. The first time some big kid from Paulsboro cracks him in the mouth, he's going to look at me and go, all right, back to soccer.
I'm done.
So
I'm out.
Yeah, it's like, I know. Whereas I knew my big guy, he'd be like, I'll be all right. I'll be back next play.
Right.
So, you know, I'm going to be very smart about it too. You know, I think there's too many parents that push their kids too hard at a young age. Now, when you get into high school and maybe a couple of years leading up to it, you definitely have to start taking it serious because it's the way of the world now. But, you know, remember they are babies and you know, you still got to let them be kids and watch their cartoons and mess around and stuff.
Well said, Dan. Appreciate it, man. Always great catching up with you. Love talking to you. Obviously, love hanging with you during football season, but it was great talking to you today. I really do appreciate it. All right. All the best. That's Dan Klecko. All right. So it's been a lot of fun today, guys. Appreciate you hanging with us. It was Gunner struggling with the voice, some technical stuff, but we got through it. And that's the bottom line for sure. We're back at it tomorrow. All three of us, Derek and Barrett and myself tomorrow at 12 o'clock for Sports Take. Don't go anywhere. Dan Silio's coming up, National Football Show. He's going to keep it rolling. Eagles continue to make moves, man. It is a beautiful thing. It's been a fun offseason so far, and we will keep the Birds Talk going tomorrow. That's for sure. I want to thank Xander Krause, our producer, doing an excellent job as always. For Derek, for Barrett, I am Rob. We'll see you tomorrow at noon for Sports Take, JAKIB Sports Media Network.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.